If you don't get out quick, I'll kill you all.
Have you ever heard of that one upperclassman that everyone fears? A walking, talking rumor that you never want to run into in the hallway. And then there's Kurose, a kind-hearted first-year health committee member who's too shy to stand up for himself. But his high school life is about to take a very, very strange turn. Because he's about to have a run-in with his school's most terrifying legend, Haimiya-Senpai. She's intimidating, she's scary, and she glares at everybody. But here's the secret. For some reason, she's only kind to him. From patching up a scraped hand with a cute bandage, to sharing after-school cleaning duties, and constant, hilarious misunderstandings, Kurose is caught in a whirlwind of confusion. Is she the scary delinquent everyone says she is? Or is she the sweet, caring girl that only he gets to see? She's a mystery wrapped in a terrifying reputation, and he's the only one who might be able to solve it. What's the secret behind the scariest girl in school? Find out in this hilarious and heartwarming story. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get straight into the video. In the halls of a certain high school, there was a senior named Haimiya who was feared by the entire student body. Meanwhile, a first-year student named Kurose, known for his timid personality, found himself burdened with the infirmary cleaning duty yet again, left behind by his classmates. As other students teased him for being too reliable and unable to refuse, Kurose silently wished he had the courage to stand up for himself. Just as he was feeling down, a curtain in the infirmary was suddenly pulled aside.
A girl sitting on the infirmary bed tells the group that they have been acting too noisy. The girl glares intensely and tells them all to get out before she kills them. The other boys scream in terror and apologize as they flee the room, leaving a shocked Kurose behind. This is the senior from the rumors, Haimiya-Senpai, who is known for being extremely scary. She sits on the bed and scratches at her hand. Haimiya-Senpai frequently skips class to stay in the nurse's office. Because Kurose is on the health committee, he often has the chance to be around her. Haimiya-Senpai suddenly gives Kurose a bright smile and waves, asking if he was forced into doing the cleaning again. Kurose becomes flustered and finds it hard to process the fact that she is actually nice to him. Haimiya-Senpai leans in close and stares at Kurose, asking him what is wrong. Kurose collapses to the floor and shouts that he cannot take it anymore. Haimiya-Senpai asks if he is all right. Haimiya-Senpai gets even closer to check on him while Kurose reacts with surprise. She asks if he is feeling sick while Kurose thinks to himself about how good the situation feels. Kurose considers once more how his senior is regarded as the scariest person at the high school. Haimiya-Senpai offers to help Kurose with the cleaning so they can finish up quickly. Kurose reflects on how she helped him the day before as well. He begins to doubt the rumors about her being a scary person because of how kind she is to him. On the way to school the next morning, Kurose walks behind a group of rowdy students. He is annoyed that they are being so loud early in the day. A foot steps firmly onto the pavement nearby. Haimiya-Senpai glares at the group of boys and tells them they are in her way. She demands that they stop taking up the entire space on the path. The group of boys immediately apologizes and runs away in a panic. Kurose watches them flee and decides to take back what he said earlier, concluding that Haimiya-Senpai is actually super scary. Haimiya-Senpai stands still as her reputation precedes her. Haimiya-Senpai suddenly notices Kurose and her face brightens with a smile. She waves and asks him if he wants to walk to school together. Kurose is shocked by the sudden change in her attitude and nervously agrees. The two walk together, but Kurose is bothered by the fact that everyone is staring at them. He feels that Haimiya-Senpai stands out too much and thinks it is weird that they are walking together when they usually only talk in the infirmary. Nervous and blushing, Kurose eventually shouts out a question, asking Haimiya-Senpai why she is being so kind to him. He is certain there must be some kind of misunderstanding. Haimiya-Senpai pauses and looks back at him with a slight smile. She asks him what he thinks the reason is. Kurose is stunned into silence, wondering if she might actually have romantic feelings for him. Haimiya-Senpai watches him with a knowing look and giggles. Haimiya-Senpai cheerfully reveals the real reason, explaining that it is simply because she always sees him working hard on the infirmary cleaning duties. Kurose feels a mix of relief and disappointment at her answer. Haimiya-Senpai starts walking again and tells him to hurry up because the school chime is going to ring soon. Kurose tries to stay positive and tells himself he is glad he worked hard as a health committee member. He acknowledges that he has basically been doing all the committee work alone since starting high school. Haimiya-Senpai stops to point out a cat sitting on the sidewalk. Kurose considers once more how strange it is that the school's scariest senior is so friendly toward him. While Kurose is walking, a couple of other students run past him to look at the cat, accidentally knocking him down. Haimiya-Senpai notices the fall and asks if he is okay. Haimiya-Senpai reaches out and grabs one of the boys who bumped into Kurose. The boys wave dismissively and offer a shallow apology, saying they are in a hurry. Haimiya-Senpai intimidates the boy she caught, telling him he was the one who bumped into Kurose and demanding he apologize properly. The boys are terrified and apologize profusely, promising to be more careful from now on. Kurose thinks to himself that Haimiya-Senpai is definitely as scary as the rumors say. The boys run away as fast as they can. Haimiya-Senpai turns back to Kurose and asks if he is okay or if he got hurt. Kurose laughs nervously and apologizes for making her worry about him. Haimiya-Senpai notices that Kurose's hand is bleeding a little from where he scraped it. She points out a nearby park and says they should go there to wash it. Kurose is surprised by the injury. At the park, Kurose washes his hand at a water fountain while Haimiya-Senpai finds some bandages. She tells him to sit down on a bench for a moment. Haimiya-Senpai comments that the scrape looks painful as she carefully tends to Kurose's hand. Kurose becomes extremely flustered because her face is so close to his and her hands feel soft. Haimiya-Senpai finishes applying the bandage and tells Kurose it should be fine now. Kurose continues to watch her, still feeling nervous. Haimiya-Senpai asks if it still hurts, but Kurose quickly insists that he is fine. He is internally overwhelmed by the experience of being so close to her. Kurose looks down at the bandage Haimiya-Senpai gave him and notices that it has a cute cat pattern on it. When they finally arrive at the school gate, a bald teacher is waiting for them. He notes that they are 15 minutes late and asks if they have already let their guard down since the new semester started. Kurose tries to explain that there was a reason for the delay, but the teacher refuses to listen to excuses. Both students stand silently as they get scolded. The teacher tells them off for coming to school together like a couple and being late. Haimiya-Senpai reacts with a cold, angry glare toward him. Haimiya-Senpai smiles and sarcastically tells the teacher that his head was so bright she couldn't hear what he was saying. The teacher gets angry at being called shiny-headed. The teacher orders both of them to stay after school for cleaning duty as punishment. Kurose feels responsible for the situation and apologizes to Haimiya-Senpai, but she tells him not to worry. Kurose is impressed that she was not intimidated by the teacher at all. Haimiya-Senpai begins to speak as she looks back toward Kurose. Haimiya-Senpai gives Kurose a warm smile and tells him that walking to school together was fun, so the punishment makes them even. Kurose blushes while looking at his senior. He thinks that she is exactly as he expected. He concludes his thought by deciding that Haimiya-Senpai is both scary and cute. Haimiya-Senpai greets the teacher cheerfully, but he is still frustrated by her previous comments about his bald head. She playfully claims she was only talking about the sun being too bright today. The two arrive at the school pool in their gym uniforms for detention. Kurose initially feels guilty about the punishment until he catches sight of Haimiya-Senpai in her athletic gear. Kurose suddenly decides that getting detention was a great outcome. Haimiya-Senpai tells him to stop dawdling and start cleaning, and he replies nervously. Kurose tries to compose himself, reminding himself that she is only in this mess because of him. He worries that she might actually be upset about the manual labor. Haimiya-Senpai calls out to Kurose while holding a cleaning brush. He answers her with a start. She gives him a gentle smile and mentions that spending time like this might not be such a bad thing after all. Blushing, Kurose shouts that he is having fun as well. Haimiya-Senpai laughs and Kurose feels relieved that she isn't angry with him. Kurose hopes this is an opportunity for them to get closer. He realizes how little he knows about her and wants to learn more about her interests. A group of other students suddenly arrives at the pool area. They complain about the chore and decide to play around instead of working. The newcomers begin shouting and splashing water everywhere. Kurose's mood drops as he realizes his private time with Haimiya-Senpai has been interrupted. Kurose points out to Haimiya-Senpai that they have company. She remains silent, crouching on the ground. Haimiya-Senpai gives off a dark, intimidating aura while glaring at the rowdy group. Kurose realizes she is actually furious. Kurose tries to de-escalate the situation by suggesting they ignore the others and focus on their own work. Haimiya-Senpai dismisses his suggestion. Kurose is shocked when Haimiya-Senpai rejects his suggestion to just ignore the rowdy group. Kurose panics and wonders if she actually preferred it when they were alone while Haimiya-Senpai starts to explain her reasoning. A large splash of water suddenly hits Haimiya-Senpai directly in the face. The group of boys who were playing around realize they splashed her and freeze in terror. A soaked Haimiya-Senpai tells the boys that she is going to beat them to a pulp. The group runs away while shouting apologies, leaving Kurose to reflect on how scary his senior still is. Haimiya-Senpai looks at her phone's reflection and complains that her makeup is ruined, leading Kurose to think that being a girl seems tough. The boys finish their cleaning at high speed and leave while Kurose and Haimiya-Senpai lament their misfortune. Haimiya-Senpai complains about her soaked hair and clothes, threatening a legal case for emotional distress. Kurose thinks she sounds completely serious. Haimiya-Senpai decides to move on and ties her hair back to get ready to work. She stands in her white t-shirt and tells Kurose it is time to switch gears and start cleaning. Kurose realizes that her wet white shirt has become see-through and panics. Kurose looks away in a cold sweat, terrified that he will be in trouble if she notices him looking. Kurose offers Haimiya-Senpai his own jacket to wear. She is confused at first but then realizes why he is offering it. Haimiya-Senpai smiles and thanks him for being considerate, telling him that his gesture was cool. Haimiya-Senpai suggests they finish up the cleaning quickly. Kurose feels relieved that things are okay for now while she mentions that her clothes are a bit damp from sweat. Haimiya-Senpai asks Kurose to go grab a bucket. He agrees immediately, happy that he is finally alone with her. Kurose wonders what Haimiya-Senpai was upset about earlier when she said that something wasn't right. Seeing how cute she is acting, he dashes toward her. Kurose asks Haimiya-Senpai what she was trying to say to him before the water splashed on her. Haimiya-Senpai pulls up her jacket collar to hide her face and tells him that it is still a secret. Kurose begs her to tell him, but she tells him to hurry up and finish. She uses a mop to push him away while he continues to ask. The two of them continue to work on mopping the floor together. Haimiya-Senpai accidentally sprays Kurose with a hose and starts laughing while he reacts to the water. Kurose thinks about how much fun he had cleaning with Haimiya-Senpai. He decides to head to the infirmary because the changing rooms are locked and no one else is around. Kurose opens the door to find Haimiya-Senpai in the middle of changing her clothes. Kurose is completely shocked and freezes in place at the sight of her. Kurose tries to apologize and leave, but a dark, menacing silhouette appears behind him in the hallway. Haimiya-Senpai grabs Kurose and tells him that he knows what will happen if he doesn't forget what he just saw. Kurose runs away as fast as he can, shouting that he will forget it right away. Haimiya-Senpai watches him leave as the narration notes that he definitely won't forget. Later, Kurose stares at his phone while feeling an intense amount of tension. Kurose screams in frustration while his two sisters watch him. They wonder if they should take him to the hospital because he is acting so strange. While walking through school, Kurose struggles to forget an incident from the previous day. He feels conflicted about how to act when he next sees Haimiya-Senpai. Kurose continues down the hallway feeling nervous and unsure of himself. Kurose spots Haimiya-Senpai approaching and tries to hype himself up to give her a simple greeting. He notes that she looks as intimidating as ever in her hoodie. As they pass each other, Kurose attempts to say good afternoon. Haimiya-Senpai walks straight past him without saying a word or looking up. Kurose stops in his tracks, completely confused by the lack of a response. Kurose realizes he has been ignored and watches her walk up the stairs. He feels crushed by the interaction. Kurose panics and drops his papers, convinced that things are at their worst. He is certain that she is angry about what happened the day before. He thinks back to a recent time when she was smiling and friendly toward him, making him believe they were getting closer. During class, Kurose mopes at his desk. He concludes that there must be some kind of misunderstanding between them. Kurose tells himself that he is just a health committee member with no real connection to her. He remembers a time in the infirmary when she asked him why he thought she was being nice to him. Kurose decides that he needs to properly apologize to her for making her feel uncomfortable regardless of her current opinion of him. Kurose heads to the nurse's office expecting to find her there. He reaches out and begins to slide the door open. Kurose enters the infirmary and sees Haimiya-Senpai sitting on the couch. He stops and prepares himself to speak. Kurose calls out to her. She looks up toward him from under the shadow of her hood. Haimiya-Senpai greets Kurose-kun and asks if he is cleaning again today. Kurose-kun reacts with shock and asks her what is wrong. Kurose-kun brings up the events of the previous day and asks if Haimiya-Senpai is angry with him, but she is confused by the question. Kurose-kun explains that he tried to talk to her in the hallway earlier, but she did not respond, which makes her realize what happened. Haimiya-Senpai explains that she forgot to wear her contact lenses and had earphones in so she did not see or hear him. Haimiya-Senpai apologizes for making him worry while Kurose-kun stands there in silence. Kurose-kun tells her that he is very glad to hear she isn't mad. Haimiya-Senpai tells him that yesterday was an accident and not his fault, but she jokingly warns him to forget about it. Kurose-kun thinks to himself that he is happy things are back to normal. Kurose-kun admits that he was worried she had started to hate him just as they were getting closer. Haimiya-Senpai teases him for being so upset by the idea of her hating him, which causes Kurose-kun to get embarrassed and try to deny it. Information is provided that Haimiya-Senpai has poor vision due to myopia. Information is provided that Kurose-kun has normal vision. Kurose-kun holds onto a tracksuit that Haimiya-Senpai returned to him. Kurose-kun notices that the clothing smells very sweet and his heart begins to pound. Kurose-kun walks through a crowd of other students on his way somewhere. Kurose-kun overhears other students talking about the hilarious messages they sent each other on the Rhine app. He checks his own phone and sees that his only active chats are with his mother, the family group, and various coupon and sticker services. He sighs, realizing he hasn't made any friends to message since starting high school. He acknowledges that his notifications are exclusively from family and automated advertisements. Kurose-kun thinks about Haimiya-Senpai but quickly tries to shake the thought away. He worries about what she actually thinks of him. The prospect of asking for her contact information makes him feel incredibly flustered and nervous. He wonders what kind of texts she would even send and imagines her having a stunned negative reaction if he were to ask for her info. He envisions several worst-case scenarios, including receiving a cold one-word response being left on read or being blocked entirely. Kurose-kun dejectedly concludes that these harsh outcomes are actually quite possible when dealing with Haimiya-Senpai. Haimiya-Senpai suddenly appears behind him and asks if he wants to walk together. The surprise causes Kurose-kun to jump and shout in shock. As they walk side by side, Kurose-kun wonders why she always seems to show up exactly when he is thinking about her. Haimiya-Senpai shows him something funny on her phone. Kurose-kun realizes she definitely doesn't hate him, though he still feels awkward about their recent encounter in the changing room. He tries to work up his courage to ask for her contact info, telling himself that they are acquaintances, and such a request is perfectly normal. Before he can say anything, Haimiya-Senpai holds out her phone and asks if he wants to exchange Rhine details with her. Kurose-kun is stunned into silence, which causes Haimiya-Senpai to glare and ask if he doesn't want to. He frantically denies it and tries to clear up the misunderstanding. Haimiya-Senpai explains that she had wanted to get his contact info after they cleaned the pool together, but he had run away too fast. Kurose-kun panics, wondering if she can sense his thoughts. She tells him that because they are friends, it is only natural for them to exchange contact info. Kurose-kun is overwhelmed with happiness at being called her friend. Kurose and Haimiya finish exchanging their contact information on their phones. Kurose realizes he successfully traded info with his senpai while she laughs at the fact that he doesn't have a profile picture. Kurose looks at his phone and sees that her first name is Mio. Kurose excitedly exclaims that his senpai's name is Mio. Kurose tells Mio that he is happy to have finally learned her first name. Mio reacts to his words with a heavy blush and a shocked expression. Mio smacks Kurose and tells him to hurry up and walk while he wonders why she hit him. Kurose receives a message from Mio containing a bunny sticker. At home, Kurose giggles at his phone while his family members watch from a distance and suggest he should go to a hospital. Back at school, Kurose walks through the hallway and hears other students gossiping about Haimiya. Kurose stops in his tracks when he hears a rumor that someone saw Haimiya smoking. Kurose is shocked by the claim while the other students continue to talk about how the rumor might be possible. Kurose walks past the infirmary feeling worried and finds it hard to believe that Haimiya would be a delinquent. Kurose enters the infirmary to ask the nurse if Haimiya has been there, and the nurse tells him that Mio is currently in the courtyard. Kurose walks away from the nurse's office thinking the smoking rumor is baseless just as a door starts to slide open behind him. Kurose spots his senpai sitting alone with a white stick in her mouth. Senpai sits quietly while holding a small box and biting down on the stick. Kurose panics because he thinks she is smoking a cigarette. Senpai notices Kurose and calls out to him. She reaches out with the box and asks if he wants to have some. Kurose realizes it is just Ramune candy. Senpai explains that she likes them because they are crunchy and look like the real thing. Kurose tells her about the rumors he heard regarding her smoking. She admits that the candy makes it easy for people to get the wrong idea. She explains that she gets all kinds of rumors and does not really care what people say. Kurose tells her he is glad she is not actually smoking. She smiles at his concern. She teases him by asking what he would have done if the rumors were true. She laughs and says it was just a joke while Kurose remains flustered. A woman dressed as a maid stands next to information about supporting the translation team. Koi fish swim in the pond and munch on food. Kurose asks her if she is a big fan of the koi fish since she is always feeding them. She says she does not particularly like them but finds herself wondering what they are thinking about. Senpai wonders aloud what the koi would taste like, which strikes both the fish and Kurose with terror. A long silence follows as the koi swims away, leaving the two of them in an incredibly awkward atmosphere. While Senpai sits quietly, Kurose decides that he needs to find a way to be useful to her. Kurose quickly uses his phone to search for information on what koi fish taste like. He tells Senpai that koi is actually a delicious white fish often used in miso soup or simmered dishes if the smell is removed correctly. Senpai recoils in shock and tells him she was only joking and really did not want to know that information. She complains that her jokes never seem to land with him, while he realizes her style of teasing is far too advanced for him to handle. Senpai continues her routine of feeding the koi in the pond behind the infirmary. Back at home, Kurose's eldest sister Sora bursts into his room and asks if he is free this coming Sunday. Sora offers him movie tickets that would otherwise go to waste and ignores his suggestion to ask their sister Yumi instead. She explains that Yumi is busy with club activities on Sunday, unlike him. Kurose asks what kind of movie it is, and Sora reveals that it is a hardcore horror film. Sora hands over the 2 tickets and tells him to invite a friend since he is now in high school. Kurose looks at his phone and realizes his contact list is extremely short, leaving him with no obvious person to invite. He considers Senpai for a moment but immediately panics and shouts that it would be impossible to ask her. Kurose hesitates, feeling that he and his senpai are not yet close enough to hang out. The idea of inviting someone out makes him extremely nervous. In his state of panic, Kurose comes up with the illogical conclusion that because both the horror movie and his senpai are scary, they are a perfect match for each other. His phone pings with a message from his senpai thanking him for adding her. He remembers her saying they were friends, which gives him a moment of encouragement. Another message arrives from her regarding committee duty for the following week, and he accidentally reads it the instant it appears. Senpai notices his immediate response and asks if he was already about to send her something. Kurose feels like the timing is terrible but realizes he can no longer back out. With great hesitation and trembling hands, Kurose begins to type out his invitation. While lying on her bed, his senpai receives a message from him asking if she is free this coming Sunday. They exchange several messages where Kurose nervously asks about her interest in horror movies and mentions the extra ticket. Senpai teases him for asking about her schedule while he frantically denies any deeper meaning. Senpai sends a message confirming that she is free and agrees to go to the movie with him. Kurose is stunned that she said yes and quickly sends a reply thanking her, telling her he will send more details later. In his room, Kurose feels a sudden wave of gratitude toward his older sister for giving him the tickets. Senpai lies on her bed among her stuffed animals, staring at the conversation on her phone. She holds her phone close to her face, looking flustered and wondering if he was actually serious. Her stuffed bunny toys sit on the bed as it is confirmed that the two of them will be going out together for their next meeting. Later that same night, Kurose watches his 2 sisters from a distance as they relax in the living room. Kurose approaches his sisters in the living room and asks Sora to help him pick out an outfit for Sunday. Sora and Yumi both react with extreme shock as they realize he is planning to go out with a girl. Sora excitedly promises to help him while Kurose tries to tell his sisters that the outing is not what they think it is. Sora makes a joke about bringing protection, which causes Kurose to get flustered and call her the worst. She tells him to be serious and trust her to handle his look. Sora asks what he was originally planning to wear, and Kurose asks her not to make fun of him before he reveals it. Kurose presents his original choice of clothes, which leaves his sisters looking disappointed. Sora admits that it was a very good idea for him to ask them for help. Sora mentions that as a beauty school student, she will also cut and style his hair and teach him how to set it himself. Sora holds his face and tells him that he is cute just like her, so he needs to go with confidence, but adds that she has one more piece of advice. Sora explains that when a girl goes out to meet someone, she puts a massive amount of time and effort into her hair, makeup, and clothes. She advises him that if he thinks the girl is cute, he should not be embarrassed and should tell her directly. Sora then mocks him by saying she does not think he is actually capable of giving such a compliment, and Kurose reluctantly agrees with her assessment. Kurose thanks his sister for the help and heads to bed, though he finds himself becoming increasingly nervous. On Sunday, Kurose arrives at the meeting spot 30 minutes early with his hair styled, reviewing a list of dating tips provided by Sora. While waiting, Kurose wonders what kind of outfit Senpai will choose to wear before someone suddenly taps him on the shoulder. Senpai arrives at the meeting spot waving and calling out to him. Kurose is completely stunned by his senpai's appearance and can only think about how incredibly cute she looks in her casual outfit. Senpai points out that he arrived 20 minutes before their meeting time, and he stammers while trying to explain his early arrival. She admits that she also arrived quite early because she got the train schedule wrong, which helps ease his initial nerves. She suggests that they start heading toward their destination and tells him that she is genuinely looking forward to today. Kurose nervously follows her, still overwhelmed by the fact that they are actually going on a date together. As they walk through the busy city, Kurose steals glances at his senpai, feeling the weight of the situation. He checks his sister's list of dating tips on his phone and feels insecure about walking next to someone as mature and beautiful as her, but he resolves to try hard to keep the conversation going. Kurose attempts to break the silence by asking if she usually watches movies, but the atmosphere remains somewhat heavy as she remains silent. He asks if she goes out on her days off, and she briefly explains that she mostly stays at home, making him realize the conversation is struggling to take off. While riding the escalator, Kurose worries about the lack of flow in their talk, even though she mentions again that she is looking forward to the film. He gets increasingly anxious as he realizes the conversation is not lively at all and fears that the date is going poorly. They arrive at the theater lobby and wait among the crowds of people near the concession stands and entrance to the screens. Senpai abruptly says she is going to the restroom, leaving him behind with a vibe that he finds intensely scary and intimidating. Kurose panics in the middle of the theater, wondering if he did something wrong or if she never actually wanted to come with him in the first place. Inside the dark theater, Kurose is too distracted by his senpai's continued silence to focus on the horror movie playing on the screen. Kurose watches a terrifying clown appear on the screen and realizes that the movie is actually quite scary. He hears a rattling sound and notices that something is shaking violently right next to him. He looks over to see his senpai trembling and making strange stuttering noises in her seat. Senpai suddenly grabs his arm with a tight grip, making him realize that she is actually terrible with horror movies. She admits to him that the film is proving to be far too much for her to handle. Kurose asks if they should just leave the theater now, and she quickly agrees to go. The two of them make a hasty exit from the cinema in the middle of the screening. Outside, a defeated senpai apologizes for the interruption and offers to pay for the ticket, while Kurose insists it is fine and apologizes for not knowing her weakness. Kurose asks her why she even bothered to come today if she knew the genre would be such a problem for her. Senpai turns away with a blush and admits that she simply wanted to come, then asks if that is a problem for him. Kurose gets incredibly flustered and yells that he is also very glad she decided to come out with him today. Senpai explains that she was probably acting down and quiet earlier because she was already feeling scared of the movie. She asks if he would still like to hang out after this, and he eagerly agrees while privately thinking that her fear of horror is unexpected and cute. As they walk, they decide to head to an arcade to look for plushies before Kurose tells her he needs to use the restroom and asks if she will be okay waiting. Inside the restroom, Kurose splashes cold water on his face in front of the mirror to try and settle his nerves. Kurose thinks about how much fun he is having despite everything that happened and notes that his senpai has a completely different vibe than usual today. He looks at the dating advice on his phone and realizes that giving her a compliment is going to be a very difficult task. He steps out of the restroom only to see her in trouble. Two strangers are harassing his senpai and demanding her social media information while she tells them to shut up and leave her alone. Kurose reminds himself that she is incredibly beautiful and likely deals with this often, but he knows he has to step in and help her. The two men continue to pester her, insisting that she just give them her Instagram handle. Senpai glares at them with an intense expression and asks why she should have to talk to strangers telling them to get lost. The men are taken aback by her harsh response while Kurose watches from a distance, thinking about how scary she can be. The men's attitude turns aggressive as one of them grabs her shoulder and asks if she is looking down on them. She tells him not to touch her, and Kurose realizes the situation has become dangerous. Kurose's legs shake with fear, and he struggles to make himself move despite knowing he needs to intervene. He notices his senpai is also trembling slightly and decides that he absolutely must call out to her right now. Kurose suddenly rushes over and shouts at the men, demanding to know why they are touching her. Senpai looks at him with a stunned expression, completely surprised by his bold intervention. The two men mock him and laugh, asking if he is her little brother, while Kurose glares at them with frustration. Kurose grabs his senpai's hand and tells her that they are going to run away together on the count of 3. He counts down, and they both bolt away as fast as they can, leaving the two harassers behind in the hallway. The man who was harassing her scoffs and says he did not need her social media handle anyway. He shouts a harsh insult at her as they walk away, claiming he only wanted her body and calling her names. Kurose stops in his tracks and repeats the insult to himself, while Senpai looks back at him in confusion. Kurose yells back at the men, telling them that using abusive language just because they got rejected is incredibly lame. Senpai and the two men stare at him in total shock as he continues to shout. Kurose tells Senpai that he was pissed off by what they said and felt he had to stand his ground just like she does. Senpai screams back at the men, calling them morons and asking who they are calling ugly, while Kurose finds her anger very intense. She smiles at Kurose and notes that he has to say at least that much in such a situation. They decide to leave the area quickly before the men have a chance to chase after them. The two of them break into a sprint across the building floor. They continue running together while sharing a laugh about the chaotic situation. They eventually reach a quiet hallway with benches and take a moment to rest. Kurose asks if she is okay since those men were touching her, and she assures him she is fine. Kurose expresses his lingering anger toward the men, while Senpai notes that they really told them off and says she feels like he has been saving her all day. Senpai gives him a sincere thank you with a warm smile, leaving him completely stunned and blushing. Kurose tells his senpai that he is the one who is always being taken care of by her. Senpai suggests they finish up quickly so they can move on. Senpai compliments Kurose on having surprising guts during the confrontation earlier. Kurose is flustered by the praise but admits his behavior was a bit crazy. Senpai tells him to pull himself together so they can finally head to the arcade. Kurose feels happy that he was able to take action for her sake. The two arrive at the arcade, both admitting that it has been a long time since they last visited such a place. Senpai excitedly finds a plushie she has been wanting for a long time. Kurose notes that it is the same character she uses for her messaging app icon. Senpai asks Kurose which of the Subex animal plushies he thinks is cute, while they look through the glass of the prize machine. Senpai confidently declares that she will win a mouse plushie in a flash. Kurose is impressed by her extreme level of confidence. Senpai repeatedly attempts to grab the plushie with the mechanical claw, but fails to pick it up every single time. Kurose watches in shock as he realizes his senpai is actually absolutely terrible at the claw machine game. Senpai heads off to get more change while Kurose looks at the prize and thinks he might be able to win it if he tries. Kurose inserts a coin into the machine just as Senpai runs back, announcing that the real game starts now. To his senpai's utter disbelief, Kurose manages to win the plushie on his very first try for only 100 yen. Senpai's competitive spirit is fully activated as she demands to know how he did it and tries to learn his technique. Senpai continues to fail at the machine and eventually starts hitting the glass in frustration while a panicked Kurose tries to stop her. With a terrifyingly intense smile, Senpai announces that she is going to go and find a staff member. Kurose watches in fear as Senpai confront a staff member and complains that the machine settings must be wrong since she cannot win. He panics as she successfully leads the staff member back to the prize machine. Senpai continues her intense pressure, stating that she cannot win regardless of how many attempts she makes. She suddenly shifts to a Cutie strategy and asks the staff member if they could move the prize to a spot where it is easier to win. Kurose is stunned by her unexpected change in behavior. The staff member complies and moves the prize, allowing Senpai to finally win the plushie she wanted. Senpai celebrates her victory with a large smile, making Kurose realize she is a real go-getter. She offers the mouse plushie she just won to Kurose since he had previously mentioned it was cute. Kurose explains that he actually won his prize for her and suggests they trade so they can both have what they want. Senpai smiles warmly and accepts the trade, noting that they now have matching items. Kurose looks at his new plushie and feels a surge of happiness at the thought of having something that matches with her. She asks if they should get going, and he quickly agrees as they leave the arcade. While walking through the city, Senpai remarks that the day went by in a flash, and Kurose notices that it is already dark outside. Kurose reflects on the many events of the day in silence as they continue their walk. He starts to worry if she actually enjoyed the outing before she suddenly calls out his name. Senpai thanks Kurose for the invitation and says she had a lot of fun. Kurose is so touched that he stays quiet, prompting her to ask why he isn't saying anything. He eventually stammers that he had a ton of fun too. While walking, Kurose says that the day was kind of unexpected, which makes Senpai curious. Kurose explains that he sees her as a cool and amazing person who speaks her mind. He tells her she saved someone who has no friends. He mentions that spending time together showed him sides of her that were different from his usual image. Senpai asks if he means that positively, and he confirms he does. Kurose admits that even though they are friends now, he still feels like he doesn't know her personally. He says he doesn't even know the reason why she is kind to him. Senpai listens to him in silence. He tells her he would be happy if they could continue to get along well. Senpai gives him a bright smile and says that their friendship is a given. Kurose looks at her and realizes something that gives him a shock. He checks the dating tips on his phone and sees his sister's advice about complimenting a girl's cuteness. He realizes he still hasn't done it. Kurose tries to work up the courage to speak, but Senpai sees her train coming and says she has to leave. He yells out to her as she walks away, attempting to tell her she was cute today. His courage fails at the last second, and he instead shouts that he is glad they got the cute toys. Senpai is confused but says she agrees. Kurose feels like a coward and a loser for being unable to say how he really feels. He gets angry at himself for failing to speak in the flow of the moment and realizes his sister was right. Senpai says she is going now and heads off. At Shinjuku Station, Senpai waves goodbye to Kurose and tells him that she will see him tomorrow. Kurose stands among the commuters, looking stunned by her casual parting words. He reflects on his time at school, noting that he has been alone since he enrolled and expected a mundane experience. As Senpai walks through the ticket gates, Kurose realizes that he is changing because he finally has someone to look forward to seeing the next day. Kurose waves back happily and promises to see her tomorrow, resolving to do his best and continue changing for the better. While riding the train, Senpai checks a message from Kurose where he thanks her for the day and wishes for her to get home safely. Senpai arrives at her door and prepares to unlock it while looking at the bunny mascot they won earlier. She enters her apartment, drops her bag on the floor, and immediately flops onto her bed. Lying on the mattress, she holds up the small toy and gazes at it. Senpai smiles warmly to herself as she clutches the mascot against her face. Kurose returns home and is startled by his sister, who immediately asks him how his day went. He tries to brush her off by saying nothing happened and that he is just tired, but his sister continues to pester him. His sister smiles, noticing that the success of his outing is written clearly all over his face. Back at school, Kurose walks down the corridor while planning out his afternoon tasks, including cleaning the infirmary and finishing his assignments. Kurose wonders if Senpai is already at the infirmary, unaware that she is watching him from a distance with a smile. Haimiya-Senpai startles Kurose-kun by whispering directly into his ear, causing him to cry out in surprise. Haimiya-Senpai greets Kurose-kun and asks if he is on his way to a committee meeting, which he confirms. They walk down the hallway together as Haimiya-Senpai mentions she is heading to the infirmary and asks Kurose-kun what he was thinking about earlier. Upon entering the infirmary, Haimiya-Senpai asks the teacher for snacks, while Aya-sensei notes that the two of them arrived together. Aya-sensei questions if the two of them have become close recently, which leaves both of them momentarily speechless. Haimiya-Senpai claims that they have been talking a lot lately, and Kurose-kun awkwardly agrees with her statement. Kurose-kun explains to the teacher that they went to see a movie together, using an extra ticket, leading Aya-sensei to ask about what they watched. When Kurose-kun mentions that Haimiya-Senpai enjoyed the horror movie, she reacts with an intensity that causes him to recoil. Attention turns to a specific animal plushie attached to Kurose-kun's bag, which he admits to finding cute. Haimiya-Senpai teases Kurose-kun by asking if having a matching plushie with her is what actually made him so happy. Kurose-kun's panicked denial of the idea causes Haimiya-Senpai to suddenly look annoyed and disappointed. Haimiya-Senpai confronts Kurose-kun and asks him plainly if he hates the fact that his plushie matches hers. Kurose-kun reflects on how he previously worried that Haimiya-Senpai would be put off if she saw him with the mascot she likes. Kurose-kun admits that he is actually happy to have the matching item but finds it embarrassing to use, which visibly shocks Haimiya-Senpai. Haimiya-Senpai tells Kurose-kun it is fine for him to keep the plushie if it makes him happy while he gets flustered by her tone. Haimiya-Senpai decides to start wearing her matching charm tomorrow to make things easier for Kurose-kun. He worries that this will make it seem like he was the one pushing for them to match. Aya-sensei watches the two of them and finds the interaction adorable. Kurose-kun realizes that Haimiya-Senpai actually seems okay with the situation. After finishing his tasks for the day, Kurose-kun says his goodbyes and prepares to leave. Aya-sensei thanks him for his hard work. Haimiya-Senpai smiles at Kurose-kun and tells him that she will see him the next day. Kurose-kun is overwhelmed with embarrassment as he exits the room and closes the door behind him. Inside the office, Aya-sensei thanks Haimiya-Senpai for staying behind to help with the cleaning. Haimiya-Senpai mentions that she will be leaving shortly as well. Aya-sensei points out that Haimiya-Senpai seems much happier at school lately. Haimiya-Senpai quickly claims that the teacher is completely mistaken. Haimiya-Senpai decides to head home immediately to avoid any more teasing. Aya-sensei watches her go, noticing the rabbit charm already hanging from her bag. Haimiya-Senpai runs down the school hallway in a good mood. Aya-sensei thinks to herself how cute it is that her student cannot be honest about her feelings. Early the next morning, an alarm goes off at 6:20. A hand reaches out to snooze the phone. Haimiya-Senpai sits up in bed and rubs the sleep from her eyes. She walks across her apartment while complaining about how tired she feels. During breakfast, she eats a piece of toast and pours herself some coffee into a mug featuring the same rabbit character. She goes through her morning beauty routine by curling her hair and putting in her contact lenses. After putting on her uniform and shoes, Haimiya-Senpai announces that she is leaving for the day. A girl stands on a crowded train while looking at her phone. A woman nearby realizes she has a nosebleed and has no tissues to use. The girl notices her distress. The girl reaches out and taps the woman on the shoulder. The girl offers her own handkerchief to the woman. The woman hesitates to take it, but the girl insists she keep it and tells her to take care of herself on the way. The woman uses the cloth and thinks about how cool the girl is. Later, Kurose walks to school while the girl watches him from behind. The girl checks her hair in her phone's reflection and smiles before approaching him. The girl catches up and walks alongside Kurose. She greets Kurose as her senior. He mentions that her face looks red, but she claims it is only because he startled her. Inside a classroom, Kurose panics when he realizes he forgot his math textbook. The teacher tells the class to open to page 24 and calls on Kurose to answer a question. Kurose stammers and struggles to respond because he does not have his book. A classmate named Tanzaki slides his book over and tells the teacher that he was the one who borrowed Kurose's textbook. The teacher scolds Tanzaki for the behavior. Kurose thinks about how Tanzaki is a popular athlete in the basketball club who is kind to everyone in the class. Kurose reaches out to his classmate Tanzaki while sitting at his desk. He thinks about how different they are since he is a shy loner who usually heads straight home. During their lesson, Kurose whispers to Tanzaki and asks why he lent him a textbook and helped him out. Tanzaki laughs and says he stepped in because Kurose is clearly bad at talking to people. Kurose feels a sharp sting from Tanzaki's blunt and honest comments about his lack of social skills. The teacher yells at Tanzaki for being too loud in class. Kurose realizes that while he already knew he was socially awkward, hearing it out loud really hurts. Later on, Tanzaki shouts in frustration because he forgot his wallet and has no lunch. Kurose sits nearby and prepares to eat. Kurose offers one of his rolls to Tanzaki, explaining that he happened to have two. Tanzaki is surprised by the offer. Tanzaki excitedly declares that Kurose is a god and that they are now friends. He suggests that they eat their lunch together. Tanzaki asks if Kurose has anyone he is close with. Kurose thinks of Haimiya, but tells Tanzaki that he doesn't have many friends yet. Tanzaki tells Kurose to just call him Toya from now on. Kurose decides that despite his loud personality, Toya is a genuinely good person. As they eat, Toya asks if Kurose knows a second-year student named Haimiya. The question causes Kurose to spray his drink in shock. Kurose frantically asks why Toya is bringing her up. Toya explains that something crazy happened involving her the day before. Toya describes how he was playing basketball with his teammates near the gym when he accidentally hit a girl with the ball. The girl was Haimiya, and she glared at the group while calling them morons and telling them to pay attention. Toya laughs as he recalls how their intimidating club captain was completely silenced by her intense reaction. Tanzaki notes that despite the rumors, he thinks Haimiya might actually be seriously scary after what he witnessed. Haimiya suddenly appears at the door calling for Kurose. Tanzaki is visibly startled while Kurose looks over in surprise. Haimiya explains that the school nurse Aya-chan needs help and she came to get Kurose. Kurose agrees to go immediately. Haimiya tells Kurose to come along with her. Kurose enthusiastically confirms he is ready. Kurose tells Tanzaki he has to leave for a moment and walks out with Haimiya. Tanzaki stays behind. Haimiya glances back over her shoulder with an intense, menacing expression. Tanzaki reacts to her gaze and thinks to himself that she truly is insanely scary. Tanzaki identifies himself as Kurose's best friend and worries that something terrible is currently happening. Tanzaki imagines Haimiya kidnapping a crying Kurose and dragging him away. A note clarifies that this is just his delusion. Tanzaki recalls Haimiya acting aggressively toward others. He worries that a frail person like Kurose cannot handle a senior who even their captain fears. Tanzaki decides he must save Kurose. He has a delusion of Haimiya using Kurose as a footstool while ordering him to buy her bread. Tanzaki finishes his food and sprints out of the room to save his soul friend. At the infirmary, the school nurse thanks Kurose and Haimiya for helping her move heavy boxes during their lunch break. Kurose tells her it is no problem. The nurse offers them a break and provides some secret snacks. Haimiya and Kurose eat the treats together and find them delicious. Tanzaki bursts into the infirmary and loudly asks if Kurose is okay. Kurose and Haimiya look back at him in confusion. Taoya interrupts Kurose and Haimiya to call Kurose over for a second. Kurose is confused by the sudden arrival while Haimiya wonders who the newcomer is. Taoya pulls Kurose aside and asks if the rumored Haimiya-Senpai is blackmailing him or exploiting some weakness. Kurose is startled by the accusation. Taoya tells Kurose to rest assured because he will save him. Kurose tries to tell him it is not like that, but Haimiya interrupts them from behind. Haimiya asks what they are whispering about and says the behavior feels super unpleasant. Taoya is intimidated by Haimiya's presence, but tells himself he must protect Kurose because she is smaller than him. Haimiya points out that Taoya was the one talking about her to Kurose. Taoya stands up to Haimiya and demands to know what business she has with Kurose regardless of her seniority. Haimiya reaches out and grabs Taoya by the cheek, pulling his face. Haimiya continues to pinch Taoya's face and tells Kurose that she hates this guy. Kurose thinks to himself that she is being far too merciless. Taoya panics and tells Kurose that Haimiya is extremely dangerous after all. Kurose tries to get Taoya to calm down. Kurose explains the situation regarding how the other members of the health committee skipped their work duties. Kurose clarifies that Haimiya helps him out frequently. Taoya realizes he misunderstood the situation, though Haimiya still maintains that she definitely hates him. Taoya hangs out on a desk and mentions how comfortable the infirmary is. Aya-sensei reminds him he is not a health committee member while Haimiya continues to express her dislike for him. Aya-sensei tells Taoya he can stay for a little while if he carries some heavy luggage to the supply room. Taoya excitedly agrees to help, leading the others to think he is easy to manipulate. After Taoya leaves, Haimiya says she feels exhausted just from him being around. Kurose asks her about Taoya suddenly showing up and getting involved with him. Kurose notes that today was actually his first time ever speaking to Taoya. Haimiya finds the way Taoya closes the distance with people to be creepy. Kurose tells Haimiya that Taoya is actually a good person at heart and is special because he was the first classmate to become his friend. Haimiya acknowledges that Kurose has finally made a friend, which seems to surprise him. Haimiya teases him by suggesting that he will visit her in the backyard less often now, mockingly acting sad about it. Kurose panics and insists that Haimiya is also a very precious friend to him. He continues by saying that he wants to cherish his time with her just as much as with anyone else. Haimiya rests her head on her hand and gives him a soft, warm smile. She pats him on the head and tells him that he said that very well. Kurose becomes extremely overwhelmed and flustered by her praise and the physical contact. He hides his face and complains to himself about how embarrassing his own words and the head pat were. Taoya suddenly bursts in laughing about a giant cockroach he found in the supply room, which visibly upsets the bug-hating Haimiya. Haimiya immediately attacks Taoya with a flying kick while Kurose calls out his name in shock. Later that day, Haimiya walks alone through the school hallway past the infirmary as other students leave for the day. She enters the room and is immediately irritated to find Taoya sitting comfortably on the couch. Kurose greets her while holding cleaning supplies, but Haimiya ignores him to demand why Taoya is still hanging around their spot. Taoya smugly explains that the teacher gave him permission to hang out for a bit because he helped out the day before. Kurose mentions that Taoya is helping with the cleaning as well, but Haimiya remains unimpressed. Taoya stands at the height measuring station and claims his growth spurt is still coming despite already being 181 cm. He then tells Kurose to measure his height too. Kurose measures in at 168 cm. Taoya and Haimiya both dismiss the result as completely normal. Haimiya is shocked to see her height is only 157 cm and insists there must be a mistake. She demands a redo while Kurose tries to get her to measure properly. Taoya notices the old-school style of the weight scale. He teases Haimiya about being surprisingly short for someone so scary, and she threatens to beat him to death. Taoya tells Haimiya to hop on the scale next. Kurose goes first and weighs 60 kg, which the other two again label as normal. Haimiya snaps and pinches Taoya's cheek with extreme force, causing him to scream in pain. Haimiya tells Taoya to die for being so insensitive. Taoya clutches his face in pain while Kurose tells him that he was in the wrong. Haimiya threatens to grow her nails out just to hurt him more. Taoya starts to fear for his life while Kurose suddenly remembers he needs to be at the staff room by 4:30. Kurose rushes out of the room, promising to return in 30 minutes. Haimiya and Taoya are left alone in a tense silence. Haimiya sits outside on the steps by the school pond watching the carp swim in the water. Taoya finds Haimiya outside. She lets out a groan of annoyance at his presence and he asks her why she is reacting that way. Taoya tells her that he finished wiping the floor inside. Haimiya remains silent and refuses to look at him. Taoya asks her if she likes carp. Haimiya tells him that she likes them 100 times more than she likes him, and Taoya laughs at the insult. Taoya concludes that Haimiya really does hate him. She tells him that he has a lot of nerve asking her that directly. The girl asks the guy with the headband why he spends time with Kurose-kun, noting that she does not necessarily hate him, but finds it unusual. She wonders if he is plotting something because Kurose told her they only started talking the day before, making their level of familiarity seem strange. He looks at her and says that there is no particular reason for it. He admits there might have been a specific trigger for his interest, but he mainly just wants to get along with him. He recalls watching Kurose clean the classroom more diligently than anyone else, even doing the work of others when no one was around to see it. He remembers a classroom meeting where no one would volunteer for the health committee because of the workload, leaving the class stuck. Kurose eventually raised his hand and offered to take the position if nobody else would do it. The guy noticed that despite his helpful nature, Kurose was always sitting by himself while others socialized. He observed that Kurose did not actually seem to dislike being around other people. He acknowledges that while others call him an idiot and insensitive to the feelings of those around him, he still noticed something about Kurose. He tells her that he can tell Kurose is a very kind person. The girl stares in silence as she remembers Kurose aggressively defending her from someone who was touching her. The guy explains that if they become friends, Kurose will no longer be alone and will be able to have more fun. He smiles and says he is doing this simply because they are classmates, while the girl looks down in silence. She suddenly strikes him across the face as he continues to talk. Haimiya tells Taoya that he actually makes some good points. Taoya is happy until Haimiya says she is taking back the compliment because he is being annoying. Taoya points out that her treatment of him and Kurose is completely different. Taoya teases Haimiya by asking if she and Kurose have a certain kind of vibe going on. Kurose walks through the school looking for Haimiya and Taoya, eventually wondering if they are out in the backyard. In the backyard, Kurose finds Haimiya holding Taoya over a pool of water with a long pole. Taoya screams that he is going to die while Kurose wonders how things ended up like this. Later, Taoya sits in a room laughing at his phone while Kurose mops. Kurose asks him what is going on. Taoya explains that he thinks girls from Hakata are cute, especially when his favorite actress uses their dialect. Taoya gets worked up imagining a girl confessing to him in a dialect while Kurose laughs awkwardly. Kurose says that dialects are not something you can just get, but Taoya thinks they add a lot of personality to a person. Taoya mentions that the Kansai dialect is famous and cool, which causes Kurose to look suddenly concerned. Kurose realizes that if he admits to liking the Kansai dialect, right now it will lead to trouble. Kurose imagines Taoya relentlessly teasing him for having a crush on Haimiya and fears this is exactly what is going to happen. Haimiya walks down the school hallway and approaches the door to the infirmary. Haimiya thinks to herself that it is not like she particularly likes the Kansai dialect or anything. Haimiya stops outside the infirmary door and listens to Taoya and Kurose talking inside. Haimiya walks through the school hallway with a dark, focused expression. Kurose feels relieved to have survived, while Tanzaki tells him there is no need to deny that something is cute. Tanzaki also mentions that Haimiya is not around. In class, Haimiya sits at her desk, dwelling on Kurose's comment about the Kansai dialect not being his thing. Haimiya walks alone, imagining Kurose laughing and saying that the dialect is not cute at all. A note confirms that he never actually said those words. Haimiya broods in the bathtub, recalling Kurose's unfinished thoughts regarding her dialect. The next morning, Kurose spots Haimiya walking ahead of him and runs up to offer a greeting. Haimiya turns around with a wide smile and gives Kurose a polite morning greeting in standard Japanese. Kurose is instantly confused by her lack of a Kansai dialect. As they walk together, Kurose makes small talk about the weather, and Haimiya responds using very formal, stiff language. Haimiya continues speaking, formally mentioning that she recently discovered a new release for Space Animal. Kurose wonders what is happening as Haimiya suggests they go and purchase the new item. Kurose realizes that her way of speaking is definitely weird, while Haimiya continues to use formal standard Japanese to talk about the heat. Kurose asks Haimiya if she is doing all right, causing her to lapse into a tense silence. Haimiya looks away and asks Kurose if he hates the Kansai dialect. Kurose is startled when Haimiya reveals she accidentally overheard his conversation with Tanzaki in the infirmary the previous day. Kurose stammers in a panic as Haimiya reminds him of his claim that her Kansai dialect was not his thing. Kurose shouts that it was all a misunderstanding, but Haimiya ignores him and explains that she simply decided not to use a dialect around people who dislike it. She then demands that he explain himself. Kurose looks down in silence, regretting that he became so stubborn for no reason while remembering Tanzaki's previous comments about the dialect being cute. Overwhelmed by embarrassment, Kurose yells that he cannot say what he is thinking, leaving Haimiya baffled. Haimiya loses patience and starts walking away, dismissing the conversation. Kurose tries to call her back but stops, feeling dejected. Kurose finally finds his voice and yells that he does not hate the way she talks. He admits that while her dialect can be scary sometimes, he doesn't dislike it. Kurose apologizes for his behavior and explains that he finds her way of speaking to be wonderful, warm, and kind because it is a part of who she is. As they stand on the sidewalk, Kurose asks Haimiya to please not change the way she speaks. Haimiya remains silent and looks away, her face flushing as she processes his words. Haimiya looks back at him and tells him she understands, urging him to hurry up so they can keep walking. Haimiya continues on her way while Kurose watches her, surprised by her reaction. As they walk together, Kurose points out that her changing her speech was proof she was truly hurt. Haimiya admits she was hurt, but knows he didn't mean it, acknowledging that she was being oversensitive. Haimiya pats Kurose on the head, telling him she is no longer bothered, though she still questions why he was being so difficult. Haimiya assumes Tanzaki said something stupid to cause the mess and vows to beat him up the next time they meet. Tanzaki is left feeling doomed for a situation he did not intentionally cause. Later at school, Tanzaki complains to Kurose about a teacher and how tedious their upcoming chemistry basics class will be. Tanzaki's classmates criticize him for getting caught filming a TikTok during class while the teacher was writing on the board. He ignores the scolding and claims it is fine to seek excitement because classes are boring anyway. While walking through the school hallway, Tanzaki catches Kurose's attention and points towards something nearby. Kurose looks over and is immediately shocked to see a group of girls sitting on the stairs, with one of them inadvertently revealing her underwear. Kurose tells Tanzaki that looking is wrong, but Tanzaki argues that it was unavoidable because she was in his direct line of sight and her skirt was too short anyway. Tanzaki laughs at Kurose for having such a hilarious, innocent reaction to the situation. They keep walking as Kurose tells him not to get so excited by himself. Back in the classroom, Kurose sits at his desk looking bored while Tanzaki sleeps through the lesson. As Kurose rests his head on his hand, Haimiya-Senpai begins to flicker across his mind, causing him to blush. Kurose realizes that Haimiya's skirt is also quite short and becomes extremely frustrated with himself for having such thoughts in the middle of puberty. Later that day, Kurose arrives at the school infirmary and slides the door open. Inside, Haimiya greets him from a bed and asks if he is doing the health committee cleaning duty alone again. Kurose stands frozen and flustered by her presence. Haimiya tells him she will help out in a bit and heads over to talk to the nurse. Kurose manages a nervous greeting in return. While Haimiya leans against the nurse's desk, Kurose cannot help but notice that her skirt is indeed surprisingly short. Kurose enters a state of deep self-loathing, wondering why he is suddenly becoming so conscious of weird things and calling himself the worst. Two other students enter the infirmary to return an ice pack. One of them notices Haimiya standing at the desk and stares. One of the boys remarks that Haimiya's legs are hot, prompting a panicked Kurose to yell at him to stop before Haimiya does something terrible to him. Kurose panics as he realizes the other students are staring at Haimiya. He then feels a wave of hypocrisy as he admits to himself that he is looking at her with the same eyes. Haimiya confronts the boys, telling them she can hear their comments and calling them creeps. She tells them to die, sending them into a state of terror. Haimiya expresses her disgust while the two boys scramble away, shouting apologies and blaming each other. After Haimiya sits down and complains that men are constantly thinking about perverted things, Kurose feels an intense pang of guilt for his own thoughts. Kurose agonizes over his behavior, feeling that it is wrong to look at his friend this way. Behind him, Haimiya relaxes on the couch with her legs crossed. Overwhelmed by his internal conflict, Kurose decides he needs to go outside and cool off. Haimiya stays behind, focused on her phone. Kurose sits alone on some outdoor stairs overlooking the water to gather his thoughts. Haimiya joins him on the stairs and offers him a gummy from a small bag. Kurose takes a gummy and starts eating it as the two sit together in silence. Kurose hears a group of rowdy students approaching from a distance across the courtyard. He suddenly realizes that the group's line of sight will lead directly under Haimiya's skirt from where they are standing. The boys in the distance start laughing and commenting on seeing Haimiya's underwear, leaving Kurose frantic for a solution. To protect her, Kurose positions himself directly in front of Haimiya, blocking the other student's view. Haimiya stares at him in confusion and asks him what he is doing. Haimiya laughs and asks if he moved there just to stare at her face. A flustered Kurose decides to use that as his excuse. Kurose keeps himself positioned in front of Haimiya while watching the group of students walk away in the distance. Haimiya demands to know what he is doing and tells him that she is not interested in jokes. A flustered Kurose confesses that he was actually trying to block the other students from seeing her underwear. Haimiya finds his honesty hilarious and bursts into loud laughter. Haimiya tells him he is cute and thanks him for the concern before standing up to explain a specific detail about her clothing. Haimiya lifts her skirt to demonstrate that she wears decorative safety shorts called misunderstandings underneath for protection. Kurose stands frozen in complete shock as he looks at her. Haimiya maintains a confident and smug expression for a few moments. Haimiya's expression suddenly shifts to a look of realization and growing horror. Haimiya turns bright red and panics as she realizes she actually forgot to put on her safety shorts that morning. The two desperately try to break the extreme awkwardness by shouting about the beautiful sky and the energetic fish in the pond. The scene shifts to the next morning as Kurose and Haimiya walk to school together before parting ways at the lockers. Kurose feels a surge of happiness and accomplishment for being able to walk to school with Haimiya again. As he walks through the hallway, Kurose thinks about how he would eventually like to walk home with her as well. Kurose is stunned to overhear other students gossiping and wondering if he and Haimiya are actually a couple. Kurose overhears the students continuing their gossip, claiming that it is impossible for him to be Haimiya's boyfriend. They suggest that she must be blackmailing him since they consider her a weirdo with a bad reputation. The words weigh heavily on Kurose as he wonders if Haimiya is being insulted specifically because of her association with him. Kurose sits at his desk in a quiet classroom, lost in thought. He reflects on how he used to ignore what others said, but the current rumors are starting to bother him. He recalls Haimiya patting his head and praising him, but the thought of people believing she is blackmailing him feels like they have gone too far. Kurose rests his chin on his desk, hating the idea that Haimiya is being mocked just for being seen with him. He feels like a troubled lamb as he agonizes over the situation. Taoya suddenly appears and greets Kurose, asking him what is going on. Taoya pulls up a chair and asks if Kurose is feeling sick or if something is wrong. Kurose insists that he is fine. Kurose decides to ask Taoya directly if it seems weird to him that he and Haimiya have become so close. Taoya immediately confirms that it is weird and questions why Kurose would even bother asking such an obvious question. Taoya tells Kurose that moping is pointless and advises him to simply ask Haimiya directly what she thinks about the situation. Kurose admits that he wouldn't be this worried if he actually had the courage to ask her something like that. In classroom 2-4, Haimiya sits by herself at her desk, staring off into space with a bored expression. A loud crash echoes through the room as Haimiya's pencil case and supplies spill all over the floor. A few students nearby offer to help Haimiya pick up her things. She thanks them, and the other students realize it is actually the first time they have ever spoken to her. Kurose walks down the hallway with Taoya and looks toward classroom 2-4, identifying it as the room where Haimiya has her classes. Kurose peers into classroom 2-4 and sees Haimiya sitting at a desk and interacting with other students. Haimiya smiles and laughs while talking to one of her classmates. Taoya asks what is wrong, but stunned, Kurose claims it is nothing and walks away down the hall. Haimiya catches a glimpse of Kurose walking past the door and looks confused as he leaves. Kurose reflects on the fact that this is the first time he has seen Haimiya when she is not with him or in the infirmary. He worries that, while she has become a special person to him, he might just be one of many ordinary friends from her perspective. He watches Haimiya smiling with others and worries that being associated with him will only cause more people to speak ill of her. Kurose arrives at the infirmary where Haimiya greets him and tells him she has already finished most of the cleaning chores. Kurose responds awkwardly while Haimiya stares at him with a questioning expression. Haimiya smiles and asks Kurose if he would like to walk home together for once. Kurose is shocked by the invitation since walking home with her was exactly what he had been hoping for. He is suddenly reminded of the students' cruel gossip about Haimiya blackmailing him and being a weirdo. Feeling guilty, Kurose apologizes and tells her that he has to get home in a hurry today. Kurose runs out of the room, leaving Haimiya angry at his perceived rudeness, while the nurse suggests he might just be feeling unwell. Later at home, distressed, Kurose holds his head in his hands as a new message notification appears on his phone. Kurose is flustered to receive a message from Haimiya asking if he is feeling sick and telling him not to push himself too hard. Haimiya lies in bed and grumbles in frustration when Kurose only sends a simple sticker in response to her concerned message. The next morning, Haimiya tries to greet him, but a panicked Kurose shouts an apology and runs away while claiming that his stomach hurts. Haimiya wears her hoodie up and attempts to catch Kurose in the hallway, but he continues to turn his back on her and avoid eye contact. Haimiya corners him outside the infirmary and asks if he is free to walk home, causing Kurose to start sweating as he tries to make another excuse. Haimiya slams her hand against the wall to block Kurose's escape as he trembles in terror. Haimiya demands to know what is wrong with his attitude and insists that she won't understand his problem unless he explains it. The two face each other in a tense standoff as Haimiya waits for a real answer. Haimiya pins him against the wall and tells him that he needs to be honest about what is on his mind. Kurose feels like his situation is finally hopeless, while Haimiya continues to glare at him. Haimiya clenches her fist and offers to apologize if she has done something wrong, demanding that he finally speak up. Kurose finally tells Haimiya that he doesn't think she should be hanging out with someone like him anymore. Haimiya is left stunned and silent by his sudden statement. Kurose explains that being with him will only end up causing her trouble, but Haimiya remains confused and asks what he means by that. Kurose elaborates that after they walked to school together, people began whispering and saying bad things about her because of their relationship. Haimiya acknowledges that walking to school together or matching might give people the wrong idea. She asks Kurose if he has other friends he hangs out with besides her. She continues by saying he probably doesn't want rumors spreading and that she would feel terrible if he got in trouble because of her. Haimiya tells him that she really hates this kind of situation. Kurose remains silent and looks down. Haimiya asks if this behavior is his way of being considerate toward her. She questions if he is letting the opinions of others control him and if he even thinks about her feelings before saying such things. Haimiya asks if he would die if someone told him to because she doesn't feel any conviction behind his words. Haimiya walks out of the room telling him that she is angry and that he should figure out why once he has cooled off. Kurose stands alone in the hallway looking shocked. Kurose sinks to the floor and pulls his legs in close. At home, the youngest sibling Yumi tells her older sister that their brother has gone crazy. Kurose lies on his bed playing dark chords on a guitar and singing about how life is a waste and death is salvation. His sisters watch from the door thinking the song is awful and that he is acting creepy. The older sister tells Yumi to go talk to him and find out what is going on. Yumi approaches the bed and asks what is wrong while Kurose stares blankly at the ceiling and continues to play. Yumi asks if something happened with the girl he went out with before, which causes Kurose to jump in surprise. Yumi points out that he probably tried to be considerate and just made the girl angry instead. Kurose is startled by how accurately she guessed the situation. Kurose looks away and admits that he thought he was doing the right thing, but it just backfired. Yumi lets out a sigh while watching him. Yumi asks him if he remembers when she caught a cold 2 years ago. Kurose is confused about why she is bringing up a time when everyone else was away from the house. In a flashback, Kurose checks on Yumi and tells her that her fever has gone down a bit after taking her medicine. Yumi apologizes to her brother for being sick. Kurose tells her not to worry because their mother left notes and instructs her to just rest. He explains the bad timing of their parents being on a business trip and their older sister traveling. Kurose says he will be in his room and to call him if she needs anything. Yumi agrees and says she will just play some games while he looks back at her. During the time she was sick, Kurose spent his time checking her fever playing video games by her side and feeding her porridge. The next day, Yumi feels completely healed. Since her brother has already gone to school, she decides to go into his room to borrow a game because she is bored. While looking around, Yumi finds a ticket for a live show by a band called Funk on Bird that her brother likes. Yumi is shocked to realize that the date on the ticket was for the previous day, meaning he missed the concert. In the present, Kurose explains that he couldn't possibly leave her alone with a cold just to go to a concert and that their mother would have been furious. Yumi admits that she felt so bad about it that she pretended not to notice back then. Yumi tells him that she was happy he stayed home for her and that playing games together and having him make porridge was a fun experience for her. She looks at him seriously and says that the part that actually made her sad was the fact that he never told her about the show. Yumi explains that she was already in 6th grade and her cold was getting better, so she could have taken care of herself if she had known he had a show to attend. She tells him that while she is still grateful for his consideration, she regrets that he missed the live show he bought with his allowance because of her. Kurose listens quietly as they sit in his room. Yumi tells Kurose that he is too considerate and ends up forcing his one-sided kindness on people instead of having a real discussion. Kurose looks shocked by her blunt assessment. Yumi looks him in the eye and tells him to start being more honest with himself. Kurose is left speechless by her advice. She explains that the people who care about him won't be happy even if things work out through him holding back. Kurose looks down and processes her words. Kurose reflects on his actions and realizes he should have been honest about his feelings so they could talk. He admits that staying away from his senior was just him forcing his kindness on her without considering her actual feelings. He continues to feel like the worst for pushing Haimiya-Senpai away when she was still treating him the same as always despite the rumors. Kurose resolves to stop running away and finally be honest with himself. Kurose tells Yumi that he finally gets it and thanks her. He reaches out and pats her on the head while she smiles. Yumi says he should buy her an effects pedal as a consultation fee, but Kurose yells that he never agreed to that. Their older sister watches them bicker from the doorway. The older sister thinks about how Kurose has always been too kind to everyone and feels proud of how much her siblings have grown up. The next day at school, Kurose stands outside the infirmary as birds fly through the cloudy sky. Kurose admits to himself that he is still scared to face Haimiya-Senpai. He remembers spending a long time at home trying to figure out how to apologize properly before finally opening the infirmary door. Kurose enters the quiet room and asks Aya-sensei if Haimiya-Senpai has been there today. Aya-sensei explains that Mio has come by and is likely in her classroom. Kurose thanks her for the information. Kurose heads out as Aya-sensei silently wishes him luck. On her desk is a note from Mio asking her to tell Kurose to find her in her classroom if he comes looking. Kurose walks toward the classroom, noting how unusual it is for Haimiya-Senpai to miss her usual time in the infirmary. He worries that she might be avoiding him on purpose. He arrives at classroom 2-4 and tells himself to stop overthinking before sliding the door open. Kurose spots Haimiya-Senpai sitting inside and calls out to her, looking visibly nervous. He approaches her desk and offers an apology for showing up at her classroom so suddenly. She remains seated and silent. He asks if they can talk for a moment, but she ignores him and continues writing in her notebook. Haimiya-Senpai turns her head away with a dismissive look, leaving him confused. She tells him that she has no interest in talking to people who don't want to be around her. Kurose tries to tell her that she has the wrong idea. Kurose clenches his fist as the tension between them grows. He bows his head and offers a sincere apology for his actions the previous day. Haimiya-Senpai watches him with a cold, unmoving expression. She simply acknowledges his words but keeps a distant look of rejection on her face. Kurose attempts to keep explaining himself, but she cuts him off by saying she doesn't care about his apology. Kurose stands before her feeling like she truly wants nothing to do with him and fearing they will never speak casually again. He clenches both of his fists tightly as he struggles with what to say next. He remembers her kindness and the happy times they spent together, refusing to let those days act like they never happened. Heeding Yumi's advice about being honest, Kurose shouts that his feelings won't get through unless he finally speaks the truth. Kurose shouts through tears that he actually wanted to walk home with Haimiya-Senpai. Haimiya stares at him with wide, shocked eyes. Kurose explains that seeing her talk to others in her class made him feel humble and made him wonder why someone like him was even with her. He admits that because people were bad-mouthing her for being with him, he selfishly decided it was better to stay away without ever asking how she felt. He yells that if she doesn't mind, he wants to get along with her regardless of what anyone says or if they match. Kurose shouts that his true reason for wanting to be around her is simply because she was kind to him. Kurose realizes he has said everything on his mind and doesn't care about her reaction anymore, but wonders why he is still crying. He wonders if he is just acting weird because he stayed awake all night overthinking. Kurose prepares to head home and apologizes for making the situation awkward, but Haimiya tells him to wait. Haimiya looks flustered and asks him why he is crying. She tells him to sit down for a moment while Kurose wipes his eyes and calls himself pathetic for crying when he doesn't even know why. Haimiya hands him a tissue and admits she was only annoyed because he was acting differently than usual and saying things he didn't mean. She smiles at him and says she is honestly happy that he spoke his mind. Haimiya apologizes for being harsh and not understanding his true feelings. Kurose tells her not to apologize. Haimiya giggles and says she will forgive him since he was thinking about her enough to cry. Kurose gets flustered and blames his behavior on a lack of sleep. Haimiya continues to tease Kurose about being so focused on her that he couldn't even sleep. Kurose yells in embarrassment while she giggles at his reaction. Haimiya tells Kurose plainly that she isn't the type of person who cares what others think and that she is with him by choice. Kurose listens silently as she explains her perspective. Haimiya admits that she doesn't actually have anyone she is close with in her own class. Kurose looks shocked by this revelation while birds fly past the window. Kurose asks if she was studying and notes that she is surprisingly diligent. Haimiya confirms and mentions that midterms are coming up soon, so she needs to prepare. Haimiya leans forward and asks if he wants to study together. Kurose is taken aback by the sudden invitation. Haimiya laughs and offers to teach him the parts he doesn't understand. Kurose stands up quickly, asking if that is really okay for her to do. Kurose rushes out of the classroom to get his own study materials, promising to be right back. Haimiya watches him go from her desk. Running through the hallway, Kurose feels relieved that he managed to make up with Haimiya and is excited about getting to study with her in her classroom. After Kurose leaves, Haimiya rests her chin on her hand and watches the doorway with a small smile before looking down at her notebook. Haimiya leans her head on her hand and thinks to herself that he is way too cute. Later, the two of them sit across from each other at desks to start their session. Kurose looks surprised as they begin working. Haimiya offers to teach him something useful. Kurose admits that he is really bad at basic chemistry and doesn't understand things like the ionization series at all. Haimiya writes a mnemonic device into a notebook and tells him that if he memorizes it, he'll have an easy win on the test. Kurose agrees to follow her instruction. Kurose asks if she is good at chemistry since they have never talked about studying before. Haimiya reveals that she is a science major, which comes as a surprise to him. Haimiya tells him to come ask her if there is anything he doesn't understand, though she warns him that her tutoring style is strict. Kurose looks at her and then turns back to his notes. Kurose notices Haimiya's first name, Mio, written on the cover of her notebook. Kurose observes that her name is written with the characters for beautiful and cherry blossom. Haimiya realizes he didn't know it until now but says it doesn't really matter. Kurose smiles and repeats her name to himself. He thinks to himself that the name really suits her and that it is lovely. Kurose asks her why her name is written with the characters for beautiful and cherry blossom. Haimiya laughs and tells him that she will explain the reason to him another time. Haimiya moves on from the topic and asks Kurose what his first name is. Kurose asks if she really didn't know his name. Haimiya explains that there has been an opportunity to find out and that he is just Kurose-kun to her. Kurose realizes that he never actually told her despite the time they spend together. He figures it's because they are in different grades and usually just hang out in the infirmary. Haimiya suddenly gets excited and bets that she can guess his given name. Haimiya guesses Taro and then Kaito. Kurose tells her she's wrong and asks if she's already bored with studying. Haimiya continues guessing with Shiro and then Kurose D. Racha. Kurose tells her he isn't part of a legendary clan and asks her to stop making things up. Haimiya gives up in frustration and admits she has no idea. Kurose points out that she didn't even try to think about it seriously. Kurose smiles and reveals that his name is Ao. Haimiya remains silent as she looks at him after hearing his name. Kurose admits that hearing her call him by his first name is embarrassing while Haimiya continues to test the name out. Haimiya repeatedly calls him Ao-kun, causing Kurose to become increasingly flustered and confused. She continues to chant his name and pokes him in the neck, demanding that he say something in response. Haimiya leans across the desk and keeps poking his chest while asking if he is even listening to her. Kurose shouts that she is being mean and reacts with shock to her constant teasing. Kurose suddenly realizes that her first name is Mio and repeats it to himself. Haimiya makes a face and calls him an idiot, telling him that her teasing is payback for earlier. Kurose asks what she is seeking payback for, but she dismisses the question and tells him to never mind. Haimiya tells him to get back to their studies and Kurose complies while she laughs quietly to herself. While they are sitting at their desks, Haimiya suddenly reaches over and flicks Kurose on the forehead. Kurose reels back in pain and asks if he did something to deserve the violence, but she offers no explanation. Haimiya points to his notebook and threatens to flick his forehead again if he doesn't memorize the ionization series immediately. Kurose tries to focus on his work while Haimiya watches him closely as the sun begins to set. Haimiya explains a problem to him and instructs him to try solving the next one the same way, which he successfully accomplishes. Kurose tells her that her explanation was very easy to understand and that she would make a great teacher, though she jokes that she would be a scary one. Haimiya asks Kurose for his hand. He gets flustered and asks if there is something on it, but she tells him to just do it. She takes hold of his hand and starts tapping on his fingers. Kurose lets out a loud shout of surprise from the contact. Haimiya laughs while Kurose realizes that her hand feels very soft and fluffy. Haimiya comments that his hand is actually quite large. Kurose is overwhelmed with embarrassment while Haimiya laughs at his bright red face. Haimiya notices that his fingertips feel hard and he confirms that she is right. He explains that his fingertips are tough from playing the guitar, which surprises Haimiya because she didn't know he played. Kurose tells her that it is just a hobby while the sun sets outside the window. Haimiya tells him that she wants to hear him play the guitar. Kurose says that he would be far too embarrassed to play even if they had the chance. Kurose changes the subject by telling her that her nails are really pretty. Haimiya reveals that she does her nails herself rather than going to a salon, which leaves Kurose shocked. She explains that it takes 2 hours for one hand and that she keeps a kit hidden in the nurse's office for when she is bored. Kurose thinks to himself that being a girl seems rough. Kurose admits he doesn't know much about the subject and asks her why she goes to such great lengths for her nails. Haimiya says she does it because it's cute and maybe to torment Tanzaki. Kurose laughs and asks what she means by that. Kurose thinks about how nice the current moment feels. He wonders if things would be different if he were born a year earlier and in the same class as Haimiya. He imagines them being in the same grade and graduating together. Kurose's pencil lead snaps as he wonders if he could have spent every day like this with her. Haimiya smiles while looking at him and calls him an idiot. Kurose realizes that despite his thoughts about the past, he feels a certain way. He decides that the present is so enjoyable that his earlier worries about their different grades don't matter anymore. Kurose stands up and notices the time on the clock, remarking that they spent the whole time talking. Haimiya looks at him intently and asks what he wants to do next. Haimiya tells him that he knows what she is talking about and urges him to say it out loud. Kurose blushes and stammers as he prepares to voice his request. Haimiya pats his head as he says he wants to go home together, and she agrees to leave. The school nurse walks through the empty corridor to check on the two of them. Haimiya and Kurose laugh together in the quiet classroom as their study session concludes. The school nurse feels purified while watching the two of them leave. Walking out of the school building, Haimiya remarks that this is their first time walking home together, and Kurose agrees that the experience feels new. Kurose mentions that since he is not in any clubs, he does not usually leave at this hour, but then he notices Haimiya has stopped and looks at her with concern. Haimiya suddenly asks if he wants to make a detour, and Kurose enthusiastically accepts. As they walk, Kurose admits he is excited, while Haimiya suggests visiting a convenience store ahead to refuel after their long study session. The two students enter the convenience store together. Haimiya tells him she's going to get things for dinner, while Kurose heads for the drinks, agreeing to pick up a strawberry late for her. While browsing the aisles, Kurose wonders about Haimiya's usual diet and realizes that she often eats dinner alone. He spots a massive portion of garlic pork ramen sitting on the shelf. Haimiya reacts with intense embarrassment at being seen near the heavy garlic-filled meal. Kurose stares in disbelief at the size of the portion she was considering. Haimiya defensively claims she was just looking and never intended to buy it, though Kurose is still surprised. Kurose reassures her that he likes that style of ramen too, which causes Haimiya to fall silent. Haimiya threatens to kill him if he ever tells anyone about her food choice, and Kurose frantically promises to keep her secret. Haimiya admits that this specific ramen is her reason for living, since she doesn't have to worry about the garlic smell on a Friday night, and Kurose thinks to himself that she is cute. Haimiya points to a spot nearby and suggests they eat there, while Kurose thanks her as they walk out with their shopping bags. They take a seat on a railing outside the convenience store to eat their snacks together in the evening. Kurose mentions that he has cleaning duty in the infirmary this coming Monday, which leads Haimiya to ask if the third years are slacking off again. Haimiya tells him he needs to learn to say no to things he does not like, but Kurose admits he could never do something like that. Haimiya looks at him and asks if he is really that bad at expressing what he actually feels. She continues by saying she realized he is bad at expressing his feelings and tends to suppress himself quite a bit. Kurose suddenly gets emotional and shouts that he wants to cherish his time with her and has been trying to be honest about his feelings lately. Haimiya listens to his outburst and wonders to herself if his personality has always been like this. Kurose confesses that he wants to change but isn't there yet, and he appreciates that she remains his friend despite his timid nature. He smiles and says he feels like he can truly be himself around her, which makes him want to be more honest. Haimiya looks back at him with a soft, thoughtful expression. She offers him a bite of her food and tells him to open his mouth, taking him by surprise as she holds the snack out. Kurose immediately reels from the extreme heat of the snack, shouting about how spicy it is, while Haimiya laughs at his reaction. As they continue walking home, Kurose notes that the school cultural festival will be happening once midterms are finished. Kurose asks Haimiya what the festival at their school is actually like. Haimiya admits she has no idea what the festival is like because she didn't attend it last year. Kurose asks for the reason, and she explains that she skipped the sports festival and school trip as well because they were a drag. Haimiya laughs while mentioning that she almost had to repeat the school year because her attendance was so low. Kurose reflects on her words and realizes he had a feeling about her situation. He suspects that Haimiya is hiding emotional scars and recalls seeing her in the infirmary. He notes that despite being physically close to her, she often feels very distant. Kurose worries that she might disappear if he ever looks away from her. He feels anxious about whether he will be able to stay by her side for the remainder of their time at school. Haimiya surprises him by announcing that she plans to attend the cultural festival this year. She continues speaking as she walks ahead. Standing on the stairs, she tells him that she feels like it might be okay to enjoy school a little bit this year. She smiles brightly and declares that this is how she feels right now. Kurose realizes that she is just like him and is trying to make the most of the present moment. He considers if he is a good enough person for her to rely on. Kurose shouts that they should make plenty of memories together this year, wanting to give her a proper response. Haimiya looks at Kurose with wide eyes, taken aback by his sudden and loud declaration. She breaks into a joyful smile and enthusiastically agrees that they certainly will make plenty of memories together. As they walk down the outdoor stairs, Kurose reflects on how Haimiya brightens his day and gives him a reason to look forward to going to school tomorrow. Inside the school infirmary, Taoya complains that his schoolwork is too hard while his friend tries to help him. Haimiya-Senpai slides the door open and greets them. The dark-haired boy says hello back to her. Haimiya-Senpai asks if the two are studying together for the upcoming midterms. Taoya begs her to teach him, but she immediately refuses. Haimiya-Senpai leans in close to the dark-haired boy and asks how he is doing. He admits that he does not understand chemistry at all. Haimiya-Senpai stays quiet for a moment. Taoya points out that failing will lead to remedial classes, and the dark-haired boy says he would hate that. Haimiya-Senpai offers an incentive, promising that if they score 90 or higher in basic chemistry, she will do whatever they ask of her. Taoya is overjoyed by the offer. Haimiya-Senpai asks why he is so happy when it is unrealistic for him to get a 90 anyway, and Taoya admits she is right. The dark-haired boy dwells on the idea of Haimiya-Senpai doing anything he asks. Haimiya-Senpai asks if he is having perverted thoughts. He realizes he could never say what he is thinking even if he were threatened, because he is certain she would kill him. The nurse mentions that even a 70% is difficult. Taoya wonders what he should make his senior do for him, but Haimiya-Senpai asks why he assumes he will even reach the score of 90. Midterms arrive. Taoya focuses intensely on his exam. Haimiya-Senpai waits for the outcome of the tests. The dark-haired boy stares ahead during the examination period. The results come out and the boys return to the infirmary. Haimiya-Senpai asks if their first high school test was hard. The dark-haired boy says his test went all right. Taoya sits silently on the couch next to him. The dark-haired boy asks if Taoya-kun was okay. He mentions that failing would mean being stuck in remedial classes instead of going to club practice. Taoya laughs at the idea of his friend getting a 90% score, telling him he is an idiot and should read between the lines regarding their actual academic abilities. Taoya desperately asks Kurose if he failed some subjects as well, but Kurose says he did not fail any. When Taoya asks Haimiya-Senpai about her results, she dismisses the possibility of her failing. Taoya yells that Kurose is a liar who is only saying he passed to avoid being mocked. Haimiya-Senpai lets out a tired sigh while sitting across from them at the table. Haimiya-Senpai slams her test results onto the table, showing that she got over 90% in all of her subjects. The two boys are completely stunned by her high marks. Taoya and Kurose are suddenly full of praise, calling her boss and saying that such high marks are expected of their senior. Haimiya-Senpai looks very satisfied with herself. Haimiya-Senpai shifts the conversation back to Kurose and asks him how he performed on the chemistry exam. Kurose stammers and tries to avoid answering. Taoya puts his hand on Kurose's shoulder, laughing that it would be insane if he reached a 90 after claiming chemistry was not his specialty. Haimiya-Senpai grins and tells Kurose to just tell them his score already. Kurose reveals that he actually got a 95 on the test. Haimiya-Senpai is shocked into silence while Taoya exclaims that his friend's performance is terrifyingly good. Kurose covers his face in embarrassment, yelling that he finds the high score shameful because it makes him look like he desperately wanted his senior to do something for him. Taoya reassures him that the result is incredible and proves that all of his intense studying paid off. Haimiya-Senpai leans in close to Kurose's face and asks what he wants her to do for him to fulfill their promise. Kurose is overwhelmed by many possibilities, like going on a date or having a meal, thinking to himself that simply being with his senior is enough. While Taoya and Haimiya-Senpai wait for his answer, Kurose finally hits on a specific idea. Kurose excitedly declares that he wants to try gyro-style ramen, catching Haimiya-Senpai completely off guard. Tanzaki asks Kurose-kun if that is really all he wants, calling him gross and saying he expected something more intense. Kurose-kun explains that he has wanted to try it for a long time but never had the guts to go by himself. Haimiya suggests getting some gyro ramen to celebrate being done with their exams. Tanzaki asks if she is the one paying for everyone. Haimiya asks why she would ever pay for someone who failed their exams. A girl stops Haimiya in the hallway to start a conversation. The new girl stands in the middle of the hallway. The teacher tells the students in class 2-4 to quiet down and settle into their seats. The teacher announces that the class project for the upcoming cultural festival is going to be a cafe. Koyuki Shiu calls out for attention while Haimiya sits at her desk. Koyuki Shiu suggests making the project a maid cafe. The teacher accuses her of just wanting to cosplay, but Koyuki calls her mean for saying that. Koyuki Shiu argues that everyone wins if a cute girl like her wears a maid uniform, especially since the class is already full of cute girls. The teacher asks the boys what they think and questions why Koyuki is assuming she would even be the one wearing the uniform. Koyuki Shiu tells the class they need to make a final decision before homeroom is over. Koyuki Shiu points across the room and declares that Haimiya is also going to wear a maid outfit. Haimiya is completely shocked by the unexpected announcement. The entire class stares at Haimiya while the teacher asks if the claim is true. Haimiya tries to deny it and calls out to the boys for help. Koyuki claims that even Haimiya, who rarely comes to class, is going this far for the project. The boys in the class begin buzzing with excitement, agreeing that Haimiya would look great in a maid outfit, and noting that there is no downside to the girls wearing them. The teacher gives in and tells the class to do whatever they want with the maid cafe idea before dismissing homeroom. The students cheer in celebration while Haimiya sits at her desk looking confused. Koyuki sits at her desk with a bored expression while other students nearby check their phones. Haimiya looms over Koyuki's desk, causing the girl sitting next to her to yelp in surprise while Koyuki jolts in her seat. Haimiya looks down at Koyuki with a dark expression and asks if they can talk for a second. Haimiya leads Koyuki out into the hallway to speak privately. Haimiya tries to address Shiu, but Koyuki interrupts to ask her to use her first name instead. Haimiya ignores the request and demands to know what happened in the classroom, stating she does not care about the name preference. Haimiya tells Koyuki that she does not remember ever doing anything to her and notes that they have never even talked before. Koyuki begins to respond by calling her Haimiya-chan. Koyuki tells Haimiya not to get so mad at her. Haimiya calls her annoying and asks what her deal is. Haimiya tells Koyuki to cut the act and explain why she said what she did in class. Koyuki warns Haimiya that she will get wrinkles if she keeps scowling. Koyuki stares intently at Haimiya without saying a word. Haimiya asks what she is doing and notes that she is acting scary. Koyuki suddenly exclaims that Haimiya's double eyelids are totally gorgeous. Koyuki asks if Haimiya used tape or had surgery, then feels jealous when she learns they are natural. Haimiya tells her to stop trying to change the subject. Haimiya asks Koyuki if she was just being a jerk earlier or if she actually wants something from her. Koyuki claims she was not trying to be mean and admits that she actually has a little favor to ask. Koyuki asks Haimiya if she can cover her shifts for the week. Haimiya turns to go home, but Koyuki calls out for her to wait. Koyuki mentions having told the class Haimiya would wear a maid outfit and asks if she actually wants to wear one. Koyuki offers to make sure Haimiya does not have to wear the uniform if she agrees to do the favor. Haimiya grabs Koyuki by the shirt and asks why she should be used as a bargaining chip for something Koyuki decided on her own. She demands to know why she must cover shifts on top of it, calling the whole thing a nuisance. Haimiya questions why Koyuki cannot make it to her own job. Koyuki explains that she failed her exams and has remedial classes. Haimiya asks herself why everyone is a moron. Koyuki tells Haimiya that there is actually something she knows about her, prompting a confused response from Haimiya. Koyuki says she has seen Haimiya heading into the gyro-style ramen shop by the station many times while trying not to be spotted. Haimiya is stunned by the revelation. Koyuki claims she is not exactly trying to blackmail her, but asks if it is not good to know she has Haimiya's secret. Haimiya responds with annoyance. Koyuki explains that if Haimiya does the favor, the maid outfit will be avoided and the ramen secret will stay hidden. Koyuki asks if it is a bad deal, and while Haimiya calls it a garbage deal, she eventually gives in and agrees to fill in for the shifts. Koyuki giggles in response. Koyuki notes that Haimiya will get paid but mentions taking a 20% commission. Haimiya is pissed off and tells Shiu to call her Koyuki instead of using her last name. She questions why she has to fill in when she has nothing to do with the situation. Koyuki realizes it is 3 o'clock and says her remedial classes are starting. She dashes away, telling Haimiya that she has a shift starting right now and promises to send the location. Haimiya stands frozen with a look of pure shock. The scene shifts to the exterior of a building. A group of young children play together in a daycare center with various toys and a ball pit. Haimiya stands in the doorway of the playroom and says that the situation has to be a joke. Haimiya enters the playroom where the children are gathered. The children crowd around Haimiya and ask who she is, where Koyuki is, and if she is going to read them stories. An adult asks Haimiya if she is the one helping out in place of Koyuki while Haimiya stands there in a state of shock. The woman welcomes Haimiya and apologizes for the trouble Koyuki has caused by bringing her here. Haimiya nervously introduces herself to the woman as Scariest's classmate. Sakamoto introduces herself and asks Haimiya if she is helping until Friday, but Haimiya admits she doesn't know what she is actually supposed to be doing. Sakamoto expresses her frustration with Koyuki's lack of explanation and apologizes for the girl's habit of causing trouble for others. The center is explained to be a place for local kids to hang out, and it is revealed that Koyuki normally works there part-time to help look after them. Haimiya and Sakamoto both agree that it is surprising that Koyuki works at a children's center, but a group of kids quickly interrupts their conversation. A group of excited children swarm Haimiya and loudly demand that she read them a picture book. Sakamoto tells the children that Haimiya will be playing with them instead of Koyuki and instructs them to listen to her. Sakamoto calls Haimiya over for a second as the girl is swarmed by a group of energetic children. Haimiya is forced to wear a nursery apron with a Mio-chan name tag and thinks to herself that this is the absolute worst situation. Sakamoto tells Haimiya that she looks adorable in the apron while the kids impatiently pull on her arm and demand she read them the story. Haimiya sits on the floor and reads a picture book to the children, but the content seems completely nonsensical to her. The children bluntly tell Haimiya that she is boring compared to Koyuki, causing Haimiya to flare up with anger. Haimiya looks completely overwhelmed as the children continue to demand her attention and report spilled tea to her. A boy asks Haimiya to help him with his homework while another child tugs on her shirt, prompting her to tell him to stop pulling on her. A young girl notices Haimiya's black fingernails while a boy touches her hair and compares it to his grandfather's, leading Haimiya to demand he stop touching her. The children comment that Haimiya is scary and that they prefer Koyuki, leaving Haimiya feeling frustrated and wishing she could just go home. Haimiya retreats to a hallway and sits on the floor to check her phone as it repeatedly pings with new notifications. Her phone screen reveals that Kurose is spamming her with messages and several bunny stickers. Haimiya asks Kurose if he is free, and when he says he is busy correcting his tests, she sends him a map location and tells him to come there, causing him to worry about what happened. Haimiya smiles as she reads his reply, but then tells him it was nothing and encourages him to finish studying, explaining she just wanted someone to talk to. The children notice that Haimiya is finally smiling as she tells them it is time to go back to their room. Kurose runs to the location and is surprised to find a child care center where he sees Haimiya inside with the children. Haimiya looks up and notices Kurose standing near the entrance. Haimiya reacts with shock when she realizes that Kurose actually showed up at the center. Kurose looks at Haimiya and asks her what she is doing at such a place. Haimiya explains that she is covering Scariest shifts because otherwise she will be forced to wear a maid outfit for the school festival. Kurose is confused by the situation and the idea of Haimiya in a maid outfit, while the local children immediately begin pestering him to play. As the children crowd around Kurose, Haimiya asks him why he decided to come there in the first place. Kurose explains he had a gut feeling he should come, which leaves Haimiya confused. Kurose mentions her messages felt pressuring, but Haimiya admits she was worried about acting clingy and tells him he should not have come. Kurose tells Haimiya that he is happy she reached out to him when she was in trouble. Haimiya looks down and admits she is happy he came. Kurose is flustered by Haimiya's apron and says she looks great while the children swarm around him. Haimiya asks why the kids are so obsessed with Kurose, and after he laughs it off, she suddenly recalls something. Kurose offers to help Haimiya with her job because it seems overwhelming for her to handle alone. Haimiya is surprised and tells Kurose that having his help would be a huge benefit. As Haimiya complains about her luck with kids, a boy watches them from a table in the distance. A young boy sits by himself and stares silently at Haimiya and Kurose. At school the next morning, Shiu greets Haimiya and mentions her work from yesterday, much to Haimiya's annoyance. Shiu asks if the job was fun, and Haimiya responds with a rude gesture. Shiu tells Haimiya to cover for her again today because of remedial classes, and Haimiya sarcastically describes her time with the children. The scene shifts back to the child care center on the second day of the part-time job. Kurose is also wearing a nursery apron and asks the kids what they should play today, suggesting they all decide together. Haimiya apologizes to Sakamoto for suddenly bringing Kurose along, but Sakamoto notes that he fits right in and having him around is a big help. Haimiya tells Sakamoto not to worry about it, and the older woman thanks her for coming again while observing how quickly the children have become attached to Kurose. Haimiya watches Kurose tell the kids to take turns and thinks to herself that he is probably just a genuinely good and kind person. Haimiya gazes at Kurose and begins to blush. A boy sticks some burrs onto the back of Haimiya's shirt, causing her to scream and demand that he take them off. Sakamoto tells the boy Mashiro-kun to stop the pranks as he runs away, making a face at Haimiya, who wonders what is wrong with the kid. Kurose and Haimiya sit on the floor playing house with the children. Kurose comments on how cute everyone is, and Haimiya mentions it has been a long time since she played a game like this. The children suggest that Haimiya be the mom and Kurose be the dad, causing both of them to twitch with surprise. Haimiya and Kurose panic with Haimiya suggesting one of the kids should be the mom instead, while Kurose says they will just watch. Mashiro-kun suddenly volunteers to be their kid. Mashiro-kun grins and asks Haimiya to make them some food, but she calls him a brat, prompting him to shout back at her. Haimiya remains silent for a moment as Kurose looks at her nervously. Haimiya clunks a bowl containing a wooden block onto the table and tells the kid it is food, leaving him to wonder what it is. Haimiya insists the tofu is a respectable meal, while Mashiro complains to Kurose that she is a lazy cook. Haimiya grabs the boy and yells at him, causing Kurose to intervene and tell her to leave the child alone. Haimiya sulks and tells them not to assume she is bad at cooking. Kurose thinks she is too defensive and realizes playing parents is a challenge. Mashiro gets a mischievous look in his eyes as a light bulb goes off over his head. Mashiro points at the pair and declares that, as mom and dad, they should be lovey-dovey and kiss. Both Kurose and Haimiya are left speechless by the boy's blunt demand. Mashiro argues that married adults can kiss whenever they want, while the other children tell him it is wrong to watch or that it isn't true. Haimiya gets defensive and explains they aren't a real couple, but Mashiro points out how happy she looked when Kurose arrived the previous day. Mashiro continues to tease them about kissing all the time, which makes Kurose sweat and blush uncontrollably. Haimiya asks Kurose to back her up and confirm that they would never do such things. Kurose's heart pounds heavily as he clenches his fist in embarrassment. Kurose suddenly snaps and grabs Mashiro's shirt, shouting at him to stop giving Haimiya a hard time. Mashiro trembles and apologizes while Haimiya stares at Kurose's dark and frightening expression. Kurose starts chasing the kids around the room and shouts that he will spank anyone who messes with Haimiya. Haimiya notes that Kurose's sudden burst of authority is surprisingly effective because of his usually gentle personality. One of the other children tells Mashiro that he cannot be mean to Haimiya anymore, and Haimiya finally makes the connection that the boy is Shia's younger brother. Haimiya reflects on the resemblance between Shiu and her little brother. Haimiya cracks her knuckles and tells Mashiro that he is just a brat like his big sister and that both of them have already caused her plenty of trouble. Kurose lets out a tired sigh and announces to all the children that it is almost time to go home. Haimiya hangs Mashiro onto a wall hook by his clothes, ignoring the boy's demands to be put down, while Kurose shouts in disbelief at what she is doing. Later, Kurose leans against the lockers in his school uniform and checks his phone. Haimiya taps Kurose on the shoulder and calls him daddy, causing him to jump and nearly drop his phone in surprise. Kurose's heart races as Haimiya praises him for doing great work that day. Haimiya offers Kurose a canned drink as a reward for his help. As they walk through the hallway together, Haimiya thanks him again and asks how it was. Kurose replies that it was a lot of fun despite all the chaos. Haimiya vents about how exhausting the talk about kissing was and admits she never guessed Mashiro was Shia's brother. Kurose notes that she really has her hands full with that family. Haimiya compliments Kurose on how well he handled the kids, noting that his earlier scolding was right on the mark. She adds that she finds it cool when he occasionally snaps because she lacks that kind of charm herself. Haimiya watches Kurose as he bashfully admits that he simply wanted to be a good father figure during the game. Haimiya tells Kurose that if he were to actually become a father, she thinks every day would be a blast. Kurose becomes extremely flustered and asks her what she meant by that comment. Haimiya panics and asks if she said something misleading while Kurose shouts in a state of total confusion. Kurose runs away down the hall to collect their belongings. Haimiya begins to open the drink she was holding. Haimiya looks off into the distance with a serious expression. Haimiya curls up on the floor and hides her face, realizing she accidentally spoke those thoughts out loud. Koyuki Shiu greets Haimiya at school, but Haimiya tells her to just leave her alone. Shiu retorts that she was only trying to say hello. Shiu asks Haimiya if she's getting used to her part-time job yet. Haimiya, while busy at her desk, says she just has to survive 3 more days. Shiu presses her to actually talk more with her. Haimiya turns to look at Shiu and remarks that she had a fun time with Shiu's younger brother. Shiu looks back at her with a stunned expression. Shiu asks Haimiya if her brother Mashiro caused her any trouble. Haimiya stares at Shiu with a cold, serious look while Shiu appears visibly nervous. Haimiya tells Shiu that she is only worried now after all the trouble she caused, and then tells her to just go away. Shiu starts to stammer that is not the case, but she backs away as Haimiya steps toward her. Shiu tells Haimiya that she has been rejected while Haimiya yells at her to shut up. Haimiya arrives at the children's facility for the 3rd day of her job and deals with some slime stuck to her shoe. Haimiya yells at Mashiro to stop acting like a brat while Mashiro laughs and holds up a container of slime. Mashiro runs away from Haimiya while she chases after him through the playroom. A young girl asks Haimiya to read them a picture book, but Haimiya worries that she is not good at it. The young girl tells Haimiya that she was scary at first, but she is actually pretty nice. Haimiya watches the children and agrees to lead them to their spot while Kurose watches her from across the room. Haimiya and Kurose toast their drink cans together. Kurose and Haimiya sit together on the floor by the lockers, both holding their drinks. Kurose laughs and asks Haimiya what that was supposed to be while she smiles and begins to tell him a story. Haimiya stands up and walks away while Kurose remains sitting on the floor by the lockers. Haimiya stares in disbelief as she looks into the school. The school building is shown on a bright, clear day. Haimiya wakes up in bed looking tired as she sits up. Haimiya stares at her phone, which shows the time as 7:02 a.m. on Thursday, May 28, and decides she will just go into school starting from the 3rd period. Haimiya searches through her bag, annoyed that she has forgotten her pencil case. Haimiya encounters an acquaintance outside the children's facility who asks if she is supposed to be at school. Haimiya explains that she forgot her pencil case yesterday and returned to pick it up while the other person expresses surprise. Mashiro sits on a bench outside reading a book. Haimiya stares directly at Mashiro with a sharp expression. Mashiro looks up startled as Haimiya stands over him and asks what he is doing. Haimiya points out that it is 11 a.m. on a Thursday while Mashiro claims school just ended early. Haimiya accuses Mashiro of skipping school, which he vehemently denies. Mashiro tells Haimiya that it is none of her business if he skips school and that she would not understand his feelings anyway, even though he claims he understands hers. Haimiya reflects that she was not going to school back then either. Mashiro reacts with surprise when he hears this. Haimiya asks Mashiro why he was not going, and he replies that everything just sucked. Mashiro explains that he could not make any friends and felt miserable every day, and that his anxiety about school only grew worse after he skipped it due to sickness. Mashiro asks Haimiya how she started being able to go to school again, noting that his mother keeps nagging him and teachers keep calling home, which only makes him hate it more. Haimiya tells Mashiro that she found a reason that made her want to go to school, noting that she still does not go every single day. Mashiro asks if she enjoys any particular class, and Haimiya mentions that she likes drawing and arts and crafts. Haimiya tells Mashiro not to push himself too hard with school and that it is okay to take a break if he needs one. Mashiro asks Haimiya if that is her reason for wanting to go, and she calls him by his nickname Aokun. Haimiya pats Mashiro on the head and tells him he is a bit too young. Mashiro reacts with annoyance at being patted while Haimiya continues to smile. Mashiro apologizes for messing with Haimiya earlier. Haimiya mentions that Mashiro has been acting more honest and cute since he found out she used to skip school. Haimiya tells Mashiro that what he said felt convincing, leaving him confused about what she means. Haimiya stares intensely at Mashiro and demands to know why he was messing with her in the first place. Haimiya grabs Mashiro by the hair and repeats her question, demanding to know why he was bothering her before. A staff member at the facility smiles and explains that Mashiro loves his big sister Koyuki very much. The woman explains that Mashiro has been having a hard time going to school since he entered the 3rd grade, so he comes to the facility to study and do his homework on the days he cannot attend. Mashiro explains that his mom and dad are always at work, and Haimiya asks him if he does not like being at home. Mashiro says he thinks his sister comes to the center because of him. Mashiro recalls that his parents were usually asleep or at work when it was time for school, and he often went to bed before they even got home. Mashiro explains that his sister was the one who always made him dinner. Mashiro mentions that while the food was simple and sometimes had little flavor or was too salty, he was happy just because she cooked and spent time with him. Mashiro hides and listens as his parents argue about him not going to school, feeling guilty that they were fighting because of him. Mashiro notes that his sister stayed by his side the whole time throughout those difficult moments. Mashiro adds that his sister never blamed him, even promising to be home early when she had to leave him alone to go to school. Mashiro explains that his sister, who loved cute things, had always dreamed of working at a clothing store once she started high school. Mashiro says she ended up working at the children's center instead, because it was easier to find a job close to home. Mashiro cries and tells Haimiya that he feels like he is making things harder for his sister because he cannot go to school. Mashiro tells Haimiya that while he knows his sister can be mean or scary when she is angry, he did not want Haimiya talking badly about her. Haimiya apologizes to Mashiro and admits she did not know about his situation. Haimiya tells Mashiro that he must have hated them coming to the center because it felt like they were getting in the way of a place that was important to him and his sister. Haimiya tells Mashiro that she did not want to come here either, explaining that his sister pretty much forced the job on her. Haimiya wonders why she is being made to suffer despite the fact that Mashiro's sister is supposedly such a great person. The woman says she wonders if Koyuki-chan has things going on too, adding that, while she can be a bit difficult and dishonest, she is a very serious and good kid. The woman hands Haimiya the children's center journal that Koyuki-chan keeps and tells her to take a look at it. Haimiya looks through the journal and notes that it is very detailed, covering everything that happens with Mashiro and all the other children as well. Haimiya is surprised by what she sees in the journal. Haimiya stares at the journal in disbelief, specifically fixating on the handwriting. Haimiya tells the woman she is heading out now, and the woman tells her to be careful. Mashiro looks at Haimiya with a shocked expression as she speaks his name. Haimiya pats Mashiro on the head and tells him he should treasure his big sister a bunch. Mashiro nods as Haimiya pats his hair before she walks away. The woman puts a hand on Mashiro's shoulder and asks him if Mio-chan is pretty nice, and Mashiro agrees. Kurose walks down the school hallway with his friend, laughing and talking. A girl sits on a desk in the classroom and asks if he is Kurose-kun. Kurose confirms he is while wondering if he is finally entering a popular phase. The girl smiles at Kurose and asks if they could talk real quick. Haimiya stands in the hallway with a cold, blank expression. Haimiya watches from the shadows as the girl approaches Kurose in the school hallway. The girl smiles and speaks to Kurose, who looks at her with an interested expression. Haimiya seethes with rage, thinking to herself that she cannot believe the girl is making moves on Kurose. Haimiya intercepts the girl in the hallway, causing her to stop and look surprised while Kurose looks on confused. Haimiya stares at the girl with a silent, intense gaze. Haimiya lets out a loud, frustrated scream. Haimiya grabs the girl by the collar, telling her to shut up and declaring she has reached her limit with her. Haimiya demands to know what the girl is after, giving her the choice to either get beaten up or spill everything. Kurose frantically waves his hands and tells Haimiya to calm down while the girl warns her not to hit her face. Haimiya tells the girl she is fine with people messing with her, but messing with Kurose is a different story. The girl smacks Haimiya's hand away, tells her she gets it, and promises to explain everything if she lets go. Haimiya scowls as she snaps her fingers in frustration. Kurose holds his hands up and tells Haimiya that Koyuki-san hasn't done anything to him, explaining that she was just asking him some things, and suggesting they talk it out while Haimiya demands to know what he means. Koyuki winces and cries out that her nail broke. Haimiya sighs and asks if it tore into the skin, and Koyuki confirms that it is bleeding. Haimiya tells Koyuki to come with her and demands an explanation while Kurose watches and comments that things are getting interesting. Haimiya and Koyuki sit in the infirmary as Koyuki mentions she stashed her nail kit there to kill time, wondering why the school even allows that. Haimiya tells Koyuki not to get the wrong idea, explaining that she is only sympathizing because she knows how much it hurts to break a nail like that. Haimiya performs first aid on Koyuki's finger, warning her that if she says anything unnecessary, she will break her other nails. Haimiya asks Koyuki what exactly she wants. Koyuki asks what she means, and Haimiya reminds her that she acted like an asshole who just wanted to harass her. Koyuki shouts that she didn't actually mean to harass Haimiya, and Haimiya replies that she knows. Haimiya points to notes written on handouts, asking if Koyuki is the one who always wrote them for her. Haimiya tells Koyuki that those handouts were always in her desk whenever she came to school, and asks if she also wrote important things on them. Haimiya recalls how she initially thought the homeroom teacher was doing it but learned otherwise, noting she never figured out who it was. Haimiya shows Koyuki a note and explains how that kindness kept her going even when people whispered weird rumors about her, making her happy that someone cared. Haimiya tells Koyuki she went to see Mashiro and Sakaman before coming to school today, leaving Koyuki visibly stunned. Haimiya tells the girl that she had them show her the notes she takes, and that the moment she saw the handwriting she knew it was her. Haimiya explains that she heard all about how Mashiro cannot go to school and how she is his precious big sister. Haimiya recounts that Mashiro was crying his eyes out when he told her everything. Haimiya clenches her hand on the table and asks why the girl would pick a fight with her, noting that it makes the whole situation even more confusing. Haimiya tells the girl not to play dumb when she has already said she would apologize for everything. Haimiya shouts at the girl, demanding to know what she wants from her, while the girl screams back that she knows what she is asking. The girl cries out that she just wanted to be friends with Haimiya. Haimiya stares at the girl in shock. The girl explains that every time she looked at the one empty seat in their classroom when Mashiro stopped coming to school, she saw what he had to go through every single day, and it hurt her so much. The girl says that it broke her heart, and she wondered if Haimiya felt the same way, so she thought that if she could make it a little easier for her to come to school, she would do whatever she could. Haimiya remembers how she felt relieved seeing the girl talking and having fun with people in the nurse's office, even though she had never seen her like that in class. Haimiya asks the girl why she wouldn't just talk to the rest of them if she was already coming to school, and asks why she went that far for her. The girl asks if it isn't obvious, stating that they are classmates. The girl smiles brightly and reminds Haimiya that they are classmates after all. Haimiya tells the girl that she should have just put her name on the sticky notes from the start, as it would have made everything a lot easier. Koyuki thinks about how she went further than necessary because she considers Haimiya to be a strange person who acts like a tsundere. Haimiya blushes and tells her that is only because she finds the situation embarrassing, while Koyuki jokingly threatens to break her nails. Koyuki asks Haimiya why she dumped her part-time job on her if she is supposedly acting against her own interests, noting that her words and her actual actions are completely contradictory. Koyuki admits she wondered for a second if Haimiya only wanted her to be someone who could talk to Mashiro since he refuses to attend school, but she confirms that is not the actual reason. Koyuki explains that she only had one subject to make up, so her remedial classes were over in 2 days. She admits that forcing Haimiya to take her shifts for the remaining 3 days was just an excuse to get closer to her and become friends. Koyuki claims she figured it would be a good deal because the work is easy and the pay is good, but Haimiya retorts that it was not easy at all and calls her a dumbass. Koyuki explains to Kurose that she had to tell him he did not need to come anymore, noting that she had no idea what was going on earlier when her entire plan fell apart because Kurose was working with Haimiya. Kurose explains that Koyuki told him she wanted to be friends with Haimiya and that she wanted the two of them to work together from now on. Haimiya snaps at Koyuki for having Kurose call her Koyuki-san, exclaiming that it is really annoying and demanding that she stop it. Haimiya puts a hand to her head in frustration, asking if Koyuki seriously expected her to believe she wanted to be friends after being threatened like that, and complains that Koyuki is giving her a headache. Haimiya warns Koyuki that she will beat her up if she brings up her secret again, while Koyuki wonders aloud how she was supposed to know the blackmail would actually work. Haimiya demands to know why the hell Koyuki was trying to force her to wear a maid outfit in the first place. Koyuki flushes deeply, covering her mouth with her hands as she confesses that she forced it because she thinks Haimiya is ridiculously cute. Haimiya reacts with shock and disbelief to Koyuki's blunt admission, while Kurose and the other student watch the interaction in the background. Koyuki silently admired Haimiya's perfectly styled wolf-cut silver hair, noting how cute she looked and how clear it was that she took great care of herself. She also admired Haimiya's subtle but perfect makeup and stylish glittering magnetic nails, finding them incredibly cute and mature. Koyuki concluded that everything about Haimiya was extremely cute, from the way she wore her school uniform to the faint, sweet fragrance around her. Sometime later, Koyuki talked with her classmate, wondering if Haimiya would end up participating in the school festival or not. Koyuki reminded her classmate that their class had voted to do a cafe, expressing her strong desire for Haimiya to join them. Her classmate teasingly accused her of trying to make a move on another cute girl, which Koyuki called a terrible way of putting it. Koyuki explained that she had seen Haimiya looking quite cheerful in the infirmary the other day and believed a little push would help her participate in the festival. Her classmate asked if she was worried about Haimiya not being able to attend class very often. Koyuki blushed and firmly insisted that she was indeed worried, arguing that they were classmates after all. Her classmate teased Koyuki, telling her she would be much cuter if she were always that honest, earning an embarrassed shout to shut up. When her classmate added that Koyuki was probably just obsessed with Haimiya's looks, Koyuki reluctantly admitted that was also true. Koyuki enthusiastically declared that she desperately wanted to see Haimiya in a maid outfit at their cafe because she was just that cute, to which her classmate agreed that it was a fair point. Her classmate pointed out that Haimiya looked intimidating, meaning she would definitely refuse if someone she barely knew asked her to wear a maid outfit, and warned that she might even skip the festival completely. Koyuki admitted that while her method was a bit forceful, she had come up with what she thought was a brilliant idea. Her classmate grumbled in response, telling her she really should have just talked to Haimiya normally. Koyuki frantically and awkwardly denied that she wanted to become friends with her and chat about things, prompting her classmate to sigh and call her hopelessly awkward. Back in the infirmary, Koyuki explained to Haimiya that she simply loved cute things, admitting she was completely unable to resist fashion accessories and cute clothes. She added that her family was not exactly well off, which was why she chose to pay for all of her own cosmetic and fashion items, using the money she earned from her part-time jobs. Koyuki continued explaining that while supporting Mashiro was part of it, she also worked at the daycare center because the pay was pretty good. She added that the moment she saw Haimiya, she had a specific thought. Koyuki excitedly confessed that she had figured they would hit it off because Haimiya was so cute and stylish, admitting she had simply wanted to talk to her a lot about trendy clothes, makeup, and similar topics. Koyuki gushed about how shocked she had been by Haimiya's double eyelids the first time they talked, calling them absolutely gorgeous. Sweat dropping, Haimiya realized that was why Koyuki had brought them up during their very first conversation. Koyuki pointed out that it was completely obvious that Haimiya also cared deeply about looking cute, while Haimiya looked back in complete silence. Koyuki explained that she had hoped Haimiya would come to school and enjoy the festival with them, believing they would become friends by working together, but Haimiya quietly told her to hold on. Haimiya questioned if Koyuki had really pulled such a convoluted brain-dead stunt just because she wanted to be friends, to which an annoyed Koyuki yelled at her not to call it ridiculous. When Koyuki nervously asked if she was angry, Haimiya bluntly confirmed that she was indeed seriously pissed off. Koyuki's sweat dropped and asked if they could have been friends if she had just been honest from the start, and Haimiya agreed, admitting she had no real reason to refuse. Clenching her fist, Haimiya told Koyuki that they needed to settle the score for all the trouble she had put her through up to that point. Koyuki tensed up in nervousness, but Haimiya simply offered her a quiet, knowing smile. Koyuki looked down in deep regret, apologizing sincerely for putting her through all of that, while Haimiya listened quietly. In a sudden loud burst, Haimiya announced that she forgave her. Koyuki gasped in utter shock and confusion at the sudden declaration. Haimiya gently explained that she knew Koyuki had never meant any harm, adding that since Koyuki had apologized and had been forgiven, that should be the end of the matter. Koyuki stared forward in quiet, stunned disbelief. Haimiya softened her gaze and admitted that she did not exactly hate Koyuki either. Haimiya added that Koyuki had always looked out for her when she was not coming to school, and she was the first person to ever call her cute, admitting that it honestly made her really happy. Haimiya turned away with a blush and declared that what was done, proposing that they should just be friends from that day onward. Overwhelmed with emotion, Koyuki burst into tears and threw her arms around Haimiya, loudly crying out that she loved her. Koyuki buried her face in her shoulder, crying that Haimiya should have just said so from the start if she was going to be this nice, while Haimiya smiled softly as she hugged her back. Haimiya reached into her bag, pulled out an envelope, and handed it to Koyuki, explaining she had included the 20% brokerage fee from the job wages inside. Koyuki laughed, calling Haimiya's name and asking if she had actually thought she was serious about the commission fee, which left Haimiya completely stunned. Koyuki playfully stated that it was obviously a joke, teasing Haimiya that since she was from Kansai, she should have picked up on that kind of humor. Still annoyed, Haimiya flatly replied that she really needed to smack her at least once. Kurose agreed, pointing out that no matter how strapped for cash Koyuki was, she was not actually that greedy. Taoya added that the wages were all Haimiya's to spend however she liked. Blushing slightly, Haimiya proposed that they should use the money to go shopping for clothes together, explaining that she had not taken the daycare job because she actually needed the money. Koyuki reacted in complete excited shock. Haimiya remembered the warm interactions she had had over those few days, both when she first offered to help Kurose and when she had played with Mashiro-kun. She recalled all the chaos, the quiet laughter she had with Kurose, and how they had played together. Haimiya smiled warmly and sincerely admitted that she had actually had a really good time working the part-time job. Watching her smile, Koyuki offered a gentle grin of her own, while Kurose silently felt a deep sense of relief and happiness. Koyuki announced she was heading back to class for now, but Haimiya called out to stop her, asking if she wanted to go to work together after school today. Koyuki turned around in absolute shock, questioning if Haimiya was really coming to the daycare again today. Koyuki joyfully squeezed Haimiya in a tight hug, cheering that Haimiya actually wanted to work together with her. Haimiya groaned at the tight grip, and when Koyuki asked if she would also come to class that afternoon, Haimiya lazily replied that she was tired but might show up if she felt like it. Koyuki smiled brightly and said she would be looking forward to it, to which Haimiya quietly agreed. Koyuki waved goodbye and yelled that she would see her after school, calling Haimiya's name one last time, which left Haimiya sitting on her desk with a genuine, happy smile on her face. Outside the room, Koyuki stood completely frozen with a heavily blushing, stunned face. Koyuki realized that Haimiya had actually called her Koyuki for the very first time, and she quickly slid the door shut and ran off. Leaning against the wall, Koyuki squealed silently in absolute joy, clutching her hands to her chest. After school ended, Haimiya sat at her desk checking her phone when Koyuki suddenly slid up behind her and enthusiastically called out her name. Koyuki pumped her fist and enthusiastically called out to Haimiya that it was time to go to work. Haimiya lazily replied that she was coming, complaining about how Koyuki was rushing her and questioning who on earth got that excited to go to work. The two girls arrived together at the children's center for their shift. Inside, Koyuki was already happily holding hands with the kids, which Haimiya watched with a warm smile. As Haimiya played with the kids, she felt a tug on her apron and turned around, kindly asking Mashiro what was up. Mashiro stood quietly, recalling Haimiya's advice about finding a reason to go to school and not forcing himself too hard if he needed a break. Mashiro looked up with a gentle smile and announced that he had decided to try going to school tomorrow. Haimiya stared at him in complete stunned silence. Overjoyed, Haimiya placed her hands on his shoulders and cheered, telling him how great that was and how proud she felt. Mashiro blushed deeply at her praise and quietly walked away, while Koyuki stood in the background with her mouth wide open in absolute shock. Koyuki gritted her teeth in pure jealousy, mentally warning Mashiro that while she understood his feelings, Haimiya was completely out of his league, grumbling that Haimiya was a sinful woman. Some kids approached Haimiya to ask for a story reading, which she calmly accepted before calling Koyuki over to help her. Watching them, Koyuki grumbled in mock irritation that Haimiya was already better at this than her. As Haimiya sat reading the picture book to the children with Koyuki, Sakamoto watched them with a quiet, satisfied smile. Later that evening, Haimiya, Mashiro, and Koyuki all walked home together down the quiet streets. Haimiya offered a warm, genuine smile to Mashiro, who happily smiled back at her. Watching them get along so well, Koyuki formed a gentle, peaceful smile of her own. The next morning, school started with classes commencing across the hallways. Taoya slid open the classroom door and enthusiastically greeted Haimiya with a smiling Kurose standing right next to him. Haimiya waved happily and greeted Kurose, completely ignoring Taoya, who was left panicking and questioning if he was invisible or something. Kurose confirmed that today was their planned trip to the ramen shop by the station, and asked if meeting after school was fine, to which Haimiya happily agreed, proposing they meet right in front of the infirmary. Taoya mentioned that he had never been to a gyro-style ramen place before and was excited, while Kurose warned him about the unwritten rules like ordering toppings. Koyuki mockingly asked Haimiya if she could even handle gyro ramen, questioning if it was too heavy for most girls. Haimiya nervously claimed she did not know either, but Koyuki simply stared back at her with a highly skeptical look. Koyuki burst into laughter loudly, revealing that Mio practically lived at those ramen places. Haimiya tensed up in absolute shock, while Taoya raised his hands and asked what Koyuki meant by that. Realizing she had just blabbed, Koyuki panicked internally. Kurose jokingly asked Haimiya if she was actually a regular at gyro ramen places, quickly laughing it off as a joke, but adding that he personally thought it would be awesome. Shaking with pure embarrassment and rage, Haimiya screamed that this was exactly why she had told Koyuki not to say anything threatening to kill both her and Tanzaki, as they frantically ran away. Haimiya ordered Koyuki to join them as well. As punishment for running their mouths, she decreed that both Koyuki and Taoya would have to order the house specialty ramen with maximum extra toppings, leaving both of them crying in complete dread. Terrified of the extreme meal punishment, Koyuki and Taoya immediately bolted down the street while Haimiya glared after them, and Kurose watched in bewilderment. Haimiya covered her face in deep embarrassment, sighing that she did not want people thinking a sparkly high school girl like her smelled like garlic, while Kurose quietly watched her. Kurose offered a warm smile and quietly told her that he really would not mind something like that at all. Haimiya suddenly reached out and placed her hand firmly on Kurose's shoulder. Haimiya leaned her head against his shoulder with a soft sigh, while Kurose froze in surprise, his face flushing red. She grumbled to herself that everyone around her was so weird, but realized that Kurose's presence felt incredibly comforting. Deeply flustered and sweating, Kurose could only stammer out a nervous confirmation as the group prepared to head out for their meal. While Haimiya continued to fume in irritation, a stylish girl with silver hair and piercings stood nearby, quietly sucking on a lollipop. The cool girl smiled warmly while Haimiya looked down her face, blushing bright red. She shifted her weight on her chunky sneakers, standing patiently. The group of four finally arrived in front of the ramen shop, but their heads turned in surprise as a loud bang echoed from inside. Taoya excitedly exclaimed that he was starving and could totally crush the meal, while Kurose laughed and noted that all four of them had skipped lunch. Haimiya slid the door open and the shop chef greeted them as they walked in. The chef welcomed them, noting that Mio-chan had brought some friends along today. Haimiya apologized for bringing such a big group, but the chef warmly told her not to worry about it and invited them all to come in and enjoy. Kurose advised them to choose what they wanted at the ticket machine, suggesting that first-timers should go with the small option. Haimiya instructed them to start thinking about their toppings, and strictly reminded Koyuki and Taoya that they were getting extra everything, leaving the two of them looking absolutely horrified. When Kurose asked Haimiya what she was getting, she offered a smug chuckle and replied that she was getting her usual. Haimiya pressed the button for a small ramen, prompting the boys to murmur in curiosity. The four of them sat down at the counter side by side, and the chef announced he was starting with the order on the left, turning to a nervous Kurose to ask if he wanted garlic. Stuttering slightly, Kurose ordered light veggies and light garlic, feeling proud of himself for successfully placing the order. The chef acknowledged it and then turned to Haimiya to ask for her preferences. Haimiya calmly placed her extremely heavy order of light veggies, extra garlic, extra fat, and added seared cheese mayo to her usual, which left the others staring at her in complete awe. Haimiya then turned to Koyuki and Taoya to ask if they understood, prompting the terrified duo to repeat that they had to order extra everything, to which Haimiya smugly told them good luck. Koyuki laughed, nervously trying to convince herself it would be fun, while Kurose excitedly agreed that the food smelled amazing. The chef then placed the massive dish down on the counter and told them to enjoy. A massive overflowing mountain of ramen slammed onto the counter, leaving Taoya, Koyuki, and Kurose wide-eyed with shock, while Haimiya stared in hungry anticipation. The four of them sat at the counter with their respective bowls of ramen laid out in front of them, clapping their hands together to begin their meal. Haimiya pulled her silver hair back into a ponytail before clasping her hands together and offering her thanks for the meal. Haimiya immediately dug in, happily slurping her noodles. Kurose happily remarked on how delicious the gyro-style ramen tasted while Haimiya smiled softly and cradled her cheek as she enjoyed her food. Haimiya rapidly finished her entire bowl and gulped down the remaining soup, leaving Kurose to turn around and gasp in absolute shock at how incredibly fast she had eaten. Meanwhile, both Koyuki and Taoya struggled immensely under the weight of their massive portions, sweating heavily as they forced themselves to keep slurping down the noodles. Walking home together down the street, Taoya remarked on how good the meal had been, while Kurose agreed that although it was more than he expected, it was addictive. Meanwhile, a completely stuffed Koyuki groaned that she did not think she would need to eat for an entire week. Koyuki asked Haimiya in amazement where all that ramen even went, to which she smugly replied that it was a trade secret. Taoya boasted that he handled the giant portion better than expected because he was a basketball player, while Koyuki prepared to ask another question. Haimiya asked Kurose who the boy next to him was, prompting an outraged Taoya to scream that they had it backwards, and he had been there the entire time. Koyuki pointed out that Taoya was apparently Kurose's friend, while Taoya complained to Haimiya about why she was being so formal with him. Koyuki insisted that they were obviously classmates, while Taoya sat on the couch quietly observing them. Taoya spoke up, explaining that he completely understood how Koyuki felt. Koyuki looked flustered and asked him what he meant, grumbling that she almost felt bad for herself at this point. As they walked down the street, Koyuki brought up a sudden thought to Taoya, while Haimiya walked alongside Kurose and sighed that it had been a very long week. Kurose agreed, noting that having work immediately after exams had made their week incredibly hectic. Koyuki smiled and told Kurose that work would have been a complete mess without him. Kurose sheepishly claimed she was exaggerating, but Haimiya seriously added that she probably would have lost her temper and killed Mashiro if Kurose had not been there to keep her calm. Kurose explained that he was genuinely glad he could help her out, adding that he was just happy she was able to rely on someone like him. Kurose smiled warmly and told her not to hesitate to call him if she was ever in trouble again. Haimiya smiled softly and patted him on the shoulder, remarking on how mature he was acting. Leaning in close to his ear, Haimiya blushingly teased him, whispering that he was such a cute little kuhai. With his heart pounding furiously, Kurose watched Haimiya giggle and walk ahead, with Koyuki grumbling to himself that she was being completely unfair. Kurose reflected on how he did not have a single friend just a little while ago, thinking that hearing Haimiya say she was not close with any of her classmates felt incredibly hard to believe now. More than anything, Kurose felt a quiet sense of gratitude as they walked down the street together. He quietly noted to himself that he was just happy his senpai was smiling so much more now. Koyuki called out to Kurose, who immediately began stammering as he struggled to decide what to call her. She told him not to stress over it, thanking him for helping out at work after she had dragged him into all of that. Kurose urged her not to worry about it, adding that he was just glad she and Haimiya had managed to become friends, which made Koyuki giggle happily. Koyuki suddenly turned to him, stating there was just one thing she had been wanting to ask him. With a warm, knowing smile, Koyuki asked Kurose if he liked Mio. Kurose froze in absolute shock, his eyes widening at the sudden question. Kurose was left utterly speechless, only able to let out a stunned gasp of confusion. Watching a bright, knowing smile, Koyuki completely shifted the mood and dropped an absolute bombshell on Kurose, bluntly asking him if he actually had a crush on Mio. Caught completely off guard by the sudden interrogation, Kurose sputtered in absolute shock, frantically demanding to know what she was talking about and aggressively denying the ridiculous accusation. Unfazed by his frantic stuttering, Koyuki just stared at him in complete deadpan silence as he immediately bolted down the empty street in sheer panic to escape the conversation. Later that night, completely unable to settle down, Kurose lay wide awake in his dark room, idly strumming his guitar as he stared blankly up at the ceiling. Still tossing and turning over Koyuki's blunt question, he desperately wondered how he was even supposed to know if he genuinely liked his upperclassman, when he had never actually been in love before in his entire life. Desperately trying to shake the confusing thoughts away, he tightly shut his eyes and ordered himself to just go to sleep, only to instantly be hit by a vivid memory of Mio softly confessing how deeply comforting his presence was. Absolutely flooded by intrusive thoughts, Kurose squeezed his eyes shut as countless memories of Mio teasing him, flashing her gorgeous smile, and getting way too close started relentlessly swirling through his mind. Completely overwhelmed and blushing furiously in the dark, He aggressively yelled into the empty room, dramatically questioning how on earth he was ever supposed to get a single wink of sleep after being bombarded with thoughts like that. The very next morning, an utterly exhausted and heavily sleep-deprived Kurose slowly dragged himself into school, sliding the classroom door open, as he braced himself for another chaotic day. Koyuki casually took a seat at her random desk and politely invited Kurose to sit down, prompting him to loudly demand to know what she was even doing. Striking a completely serious pose, Koyuki confidently introduced herself as his official love advisor, and calmly instructed a very bewildered Kurose to come over to her. Kurose frantically pointed out that she had completely invaded an underclassman's classroom first thing in the morning and stolen someone else's seat right, while everyone was staring at them. Unbothered, Koyuki smoothly brushed it off by claiming her cuteness made it totally fine, leaving Kurose completely exasperated by her ridiculous logic. Completely ignoring his complaints, Koyuki ordered him to sit down and firmly stated that he was going to answer all of her questions, immediately launching into her interrogation. Holding up a clipboard like a true professional, Koyuki cut right to the chase and bluntly asked if his heart started racing whenever he thought about Mio, causing Kurose to flinch in pure panic. Flustered out of his mind, Kurose furiously demanded to know why she was opening with such an insanely direct question, before defensively stammering out a frantic denial. Slapping a stethoscope right onto his chest, Koyuki instantly called his bluff, declaring that his heart rate was completely through the roof as Kurose let out a dramatic shriek. Smirking, she casually admitted she couldn't really blame him. Leaning in closer, Koyuki pointed out the painfully obvious fact that Mio mysteriously treated him way nicer than she treated absolutely anyone else. Suddenly losing all her professional cool, Koyuki violently grabbed him by the collar and aggressively demanded to know what he had done to Mio, furiously complaining that the sweet smiles she gave him were totally different from the ones she got. Kurose desperately pleaded that he hadn't done anything at all to cause it. Catching his breath, Kurose honestly confessed that since they were friends now, he was just genuinely happy she was so kind to him, admitting he had absolutely no idea why she treated him so specially either. Koyuki drops a sudden bombshell, pointing out that Mio did mention having a boyfriend, which instantly sends Kurose's heart into a complete panic. Kurose instantly loses his cool and desperately demands to know what she just said, while Koyuki smugly watches his panicked reaction. Koyuki quickly laughs it off, apologizing and admitting she was just fishing for a reaction. However, Kurose is absolutely furious and warns her never to pull that stunt again, though Koyuki jokingly notes that his anger makes him sound just like Mio. Koyuki confesses that she actually has no idea if Mio has a boyfriend, but points out that Kurose's intense reaction is all the proof anyone needs. She turns the focus back on him, asking if he is ready to admit the truth. Koyuki bluntly warns Kurose that at this current rate, he will never manage to become more than just friends with Mio, leaving him completely silent and sweating bullets. Koyuki points out that Mio has one of the prettiest faces and best figures in the entire school, meaning countless guys are constantly trying to win her over. Kurose silently agrees, painfully recalling how she got hit on the moment he looked away, while Koyuki challenges him on whether he actually has the confidence to make Mio choose him. Kurose gets extremely flustered, stammering that his confidence is a completely different story, but Koyuki firmly cuts him off, declaring that kind of attitude is simply no good. Koyuki lectures him that girls will not wait around forever, telling him that if he truly wants Mio to fall for him, he needs to step up and put in the real effort to deserve her. When Kurose helplessly asks how he is even supposed to go about doing that, Koyuki enthusiastically declares that she's going to personally take him under her wing and look after him, until Mio finally notices him, though Kurose really wishes she would phrase her offer a bit better. Confused by the sudden support, Kurose asks Koyuki why she is going to such great lengths to help him out, leaving her humming thoughtfully as she considers her answer. Koyuki sheepishly admits that the whole situation is actually a little embarrassing for her to confess. As Kurose and Mio walk home together, Kurose happily points out that the two of them always look so genuinely happy whenever they talk, leaving Mio incredibly flustered and blushing. Kurose completely panics and begs Koyuki not to meddle, loudly protesting that he has not even sorted out his feelings yet, and demands she stop assuming he is in love with Mio. Wrapping up their deep consultation, Koyuki playfully bids him farewell and promises to stay in touch, leaving Kurose completely overwhelmed and exhausted by the intense conversation. Koyuki quietly apologizes to Kurose, warmly reassuring him that he is one of the kindest people she knows, and does not need to change who he is, noting that his genuine goodness is exactly why Mio trusts him so deeply. Knowing how incredibly dense the two of them are, Koyuki notes that their relationship will never actually progress on its own, proudly admitting she just wanted to give him a helpful little push. Walking down the school hallway, Kurose feels a wave of self-doubt wash over him as he sadly worries that Mio will never actually see him in a romantic light. Kurose is left hilariously overwhelmed by how easily everyone assumes he has a massive crush, but he sadly concludes that an ordinary guy like him needs to find a real way to make Mio notice him. A flyer on the school bulletin board advertises a desperate search for a brand new guitarist to join the light music club by early August. Noticing that the club is run by his classmate Heizuki, Kurose is suddenly struck by Koyuki's words about putting in the effort to deserve Mio's love, giving him a sudden wave of inspiration to finally step up. Flustered and waving his hands, Kurose frantically tried to explain that his reluctance to join the band had absolutely nothing to do with whether he was good enough or not. Still, he quietly admitted to himself that he did feel a little bad for them if they were genuinely short on members. As Kurose stood in the hallway staring intently at a club poster deep in thought, a girl suddenly spotted him and sneaked up from behind. Bursting with sudden excitement, she loudly called out his name and eagerly asked if he was actually interested in playing the guitar. Kicking off Chapter 37, the energetic girl pushed in close and excitedly repeated her question, leaving a completely startled Kurose to frantically stammer out her name and insist that it really was not what it looked like. Introducing herself as Heizuki Nanoka, she completely ignored his denial and confidently declared that she could feel his intense passion staring at the poster. Without missing a beat, she proudly ordered him to come check out the light music club after school, leaving him utterly bewildered. Aggressively grabbing onto his arms, Heizuki eagerly insisted that it did not matter at all if he didn't know how to play, yet enthusiastically suggesting that he could just come and watch them practice for now. Flashing a huge smile, Heizuki promised that once he improved, he could even help their band perform at the upcoming cultural festival. She quickly waved goodbye and yelled that she would see him after school, leaving a completely overwhelmed Kurose sweating bullets as he nervously wondered how his upperclassmen were going to react to this sudden development. Kurose was completely flabbergasted, realizing with mounting panic that this entire crazy recruitment plan was moving forward without him having a single say in the matter. Once school finally wrapped up, Heizuki excitedly barged in and told Kurose it was time to go, completely ignoring his panicked protests that he was nowhere near ready for this. Bursting through the clubroom doors, Heizuki proudly announced that she had brought them a brand new guitar recruit, completely disregarding the fact that Kurose looked entirely traumatized by the kidnapping. Exhausted and completely defeated, Kurose weakly clarified to the room that he had actually been dragged there entirely against his will. The bass player sighed heavily and called Heizuki out for forcibly dragging yet another person to their club, while the drummer just burst into laughter, cheerfully noting that Kurose was already her seventh unfortunate victim. Ignoring the accusations, Heizuki cheerfully introduced Kurose to the band, proudly claiming she brought him along simply because he looked interested in their recruitment poster. Kurose nervously stammered out an introduction, which was immediately met with a warm and friendly welcome from the rest of the members. Trying to ease his nerves, Heizuki assured him that it was just a casual visit and nothing to stress over. Realizing they hadn't actually talked much themselves, she enthusiastically suggested they go ahead and properly introduce the entire band. The introductions kicked off with the third-year Khan stating he played bass, followed by the second-year Yum cheerfully announcing she was the drummer. Finally, Heizuki proudly declared herself the leader of Wat Milo, taking full credit for being the guitarist, vocalist, and the mastermind behind all their original songs. Completely ruining the welcoming vibe, Khan bluntly predicted that Kurose would probably just quit after today anyway. This instantly sparked a fierce argument, with the girls angrily chewing him out for having zero filter and brutally pointing out that his awful attitude was exactly why he was a gloomy introvert with absolutely no friends. As the bassist grumpily turned away and muttered for them to stop, Kurose stood there incredibly awkwardly, while Yum playfully poked the older boy's cheek, teasingly noting that his easily irritated nature was actually pretty cute. The blunt band member bluntly stated that with less than a month until the festival, they were better off performing as a trio rather than wasting time teaching a complete beginner. The other member sincerely apologized for the wasted trip, but firmly emphasized that they were completely serious about their music and refused to do things half-heartedly. Heizuki quickly apologized to Kurose, awkwardly explaining that her bandmate was just incredibly blunt and completely lacked any basic social skills. Brushing past the awkwardness, Kurose curiously asked Heizuki why their band was actually missing a guitarist in the first place. Heizuki simply chalked the missing member up to creative differences. The blunt bandmate openly admitted that his ridiculously high standards were what drove their previous guitarist to quit, though he firmly insisted that his ideal sound absolutely required a 4-piece setup. The perfectionist explained that despite Ada-senpai hating the spotlight, he still agreed to join the band. He went on to add that even though it was Kurino-senpai's final year, she specifically wanted to play alongside him. Refusing to compromise his vision, he passionately declared that he absolutely could not let either of his bandmates down. He emphasized that since they were aiming for the best possible performance, he simply refused to settle for anything less than perfect. He heavily admitted that they still had not been able to find the right person for the job, realistically acknowledging that their current situation was looking pretty grim. Heizuki nervously apologized to Kurose for dragging him into such an awkward situation, quickly trying to lighten the mood by telling him to just relax and enjoy looking around the clubroom for the day. After a brief moment of silence, Kurose stepped forward and hesitantly asked if they would let him try playing one of the guitars for just a moment. Heizuki was completely caught off guard for a second before enthusiastically agreeing, assuming he just wanted to feel what it was like to hold an instrument. Kurose politely thanked her as he reached for the guitar. Kurose smoothly strapped the guitar over his shoulder and confidently took his stance, casually adjusting the amp settings while the perfectionist bandmate watched him in total stunned silence. Before he even begins playing, Kurose effortlessly tunes the guitar entirely by ear, leaving the club senior absolutely stunned by his raw talent. Without wasting a single second, Kurose unleashes an incredibly powerful and precise melody that completely fills the room. Kurose loses himself in the music, putting on an absolute masterclass of a performance that completely transforms his usual quiet image into something incredibly cool. The club members are left completely starstruck and speechless, unable to believe their ears as they witness his jaw-dropping skills. They quickly realize his flawless picking accuracy and smooth fingering are way beyond the level of any ordinary amateur, producing a sound that is genuinely professional. The group stands in breathless silence, totally mesmerized as Kurose wraps up his mind-blowing performance. Once the final note fades, a suddenly shy Kurose nervously looks up to ask the stunned club members for their honest feedback. Heizuki immediately lunges forward in pure excitement, aggressively begging him to join their band and play alongside them. Kurose is left completely shell-shocked as Heizuki gushes over his performance, unable to believe that the quiet guy from her class could play with such unbelievable skill. As the club members excitedly declare that he might actually be the best guitarist in the entire school, even their senior is forced to admit that Kurose is indeed the real deal. The group curiously asked Kurose if he had been playing the guitar for a long time, and when he casually replied that it was just a hobby he had picked up about 4 years ago, they were absolutely floored by his modest answer. Believing they had finally found the perfect missing piece to complete their band, Wat Milo, the girls enthusiastically invited him to join their lineup and perform with them at the upcoming cultural festival, confidently assuming the rest of the members would have absolutely no objections. The sudden and incredibly passionate offer left Kurose completely stunned, forcing him to quietly look down as he struggled to process the unexpected invitation. While Kurose sheepishly thanked them and admitted he was incredibly honored but still too overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events to fully process it, one of the girls casually pointed out that joining the band would easily make him super popular, leaving him completely flustered and caught off guard. She teasingly added that with guitar skills as impressive as his, he would absolutely be a massive hit at the cultural festival, sending his anxiety into overdrive as he imagined the sheer pressure of it all. One of the seniors bluntly asked Kurose if he truly had the confidence to make Mio choose him, prompting him to nervously wonder to himself if stepping onto the stage would actually be enough to finally get Haimiya to notice him. The long-haired upperclassman quickly tried to shatter the fantasy by warning Kurose that playing the guitar did not automatically guarantee popularity, only to be immediately roasted by his bandmate, who pointed out that was only because he was not popular himself. Haimiya-Senpai reassuringly explained that since everything was happening so fast, he did not even have to officially join the band, permanently noting that simply helping them out for the festival would be a massive lifesaver, though Kurose was completely distracted by how tall and imposing she was. Admitting that he had never actually played in a proper band before and was still lacking confidence, Kurose hesitantly asked if it would be okay for him to just tag along and join their practices as a temporary helper, which the girls happily and instantly agreed to. As Kurose stared quietly at the instruments in the room, one of the girls curiously asked what had finally made him change his mind and step forward, wondering why he had kept such impressive guitar skills a complete secret until now. Kurose confidently declared that his motivation was incredibly simple, explaining that if someone was in trouble and he could help them, that was the only reason he needed to step up. Hearing his genuinely selfless answer, both Heizuki and the upperclassmen looked at him with quiet respect and warm smiles. Heizuki enthusiastically cheered that they should all do their best together, prompting the other band members to warmly welcome him to the group. Kurose nervously but eagerly agreed right before Heizuki suddenly remembered one last detail. Pointing out that they were classmates and mutual friends, Heizuki casually told him to drop the formalities and just call her by her first name. Kurose happily agreed, warmly calling her Heizuki as she officially kicked off their practice session. Kicking off Chapter 38, Kurose walked down the school hallway with his guitar case, sighing to himself that he hadn't been able to see Haimiya at all that entire week. Realizing the cultural festival was only a few weeks away, he firmly resolved to practice even harder. Right as she crossed his mind, Haimiya suddenly popped up right beside him with a casual greeting. Flustered and completely captivated by how cute she was, Kurose eagerly agreed when she suggested they head to their committee duty together. Catching sight of the large instrument case on his back and the little mascot keychain dangling from it, Haimiya curiously asked what was up with the bag, leaving Kurose stammering as he tried to figure out how to explain the situation. Kurose admitted that for the time being he was just sitting in on the band's practices, after seeing their recruitment flyer, quickly adding that he still hadn't officially decided if he was actually going to perform on stage yet. Haimiya and Koyuki instantly lit up with sparkling excitement, eagerly asking if this meant they would finally get to hear him play the guitar. Kurose completely panicked, frantically stammering that he wasn't sure, because playing right in front of his upperclassmen would just be way too embarrassing. After learning about Kurose's involvement with the light music club, Haimiya realized that was exactly why he had been missing from the infirmary recently, quietly noting that the mystery was finally solved. MS. Nishizawa cheerfully called out to Aya as she entered the room, announcing that she had brought Kurose along with her, which was met with a warm welcome from the nurse inside. The school nurse asked if the two of them would mind putting together a poster for the infirmary to display during the upcoming cultural festival, internally thinking how adorable they looked together, before they both agreed to help out. The two of them quickly set up in the quiet office, with Kurose taking charge of the drawing while Haimiya stayed close by to watch his work. Just as Kurose was completely focused on his writing, Haimiya suddenly moved in and startled him, causing him to jump and let out a panicked shriek of surprise. Sputtering and blushing, Kurose desperately pleaded with his upperclassmen to stop teasing him because he really wanted to make sure he did not ruin the poster, though his panic only earned him a mischievous chuckle from a smug Haimiya. The two of them soon fell into an awkward silence as they sat incredibly close to each other, both feeling the sudden tension of their proximity. Kurose's brain immediately began to short-circuit under the pressure, leaving him to frantically wonder if her usual sense of personal space had completely vanished for the day. Breaking the silence, Haimiya casually observed that his hair had gotten a bit longer, prompting Kurose to realize that he indeed had not gone for a haircut in a couple of months. Figuring his long bangs were probably getting in his way while he worked, Haimiya stood up and smugly offered to pin them back for him, leaving him completely flustered by her sudden affection. Mio playfully took the initiative to style Kurose's hair, leaving him completely flustered and utterly speechless as he stood there awkwardly taking in the sudden attention. The teacher enthusiastically praised his fresh, new look, declaring that it totally suited his vibe. Completely overwhelmed by the compliments, Kurose loudly announced he was hiding in the bathroom for a bit, and bolted out the door, leaving a slightly flushed Mio to quietly mutter about how embarrassing the whole ordeal was. Safely out of the room, Kurose was left standing there completely flustered, awkwardly trying to process the sudden makeover and desperately attempting to calm his racing heart. Back in the infirmary, the teacher warmly noted that Kurose really seemed to have changed for the better lately, prompting Mio to just listen quietly with a soft blush on her cheeks. The teacher happily pointed out that he had gotten much more cheerful and polished, casually bringing up his recent involvement with the light music club. Hearing this, Mio's expression immediately dropped as she silently realized that his new busy schedule meant he probably would not be visiting the infirmary as often anymore. The teacher teasingly predicted that at his current rate of improvement, Kurose might actually become pretty popular, which instantly sparked a fiercely defensive and shocked reaction from Mio. Left without a real comeback, Mio quickly fell entirely silent, completely lost in her own complicated feelings. Breaking the heavy silence in the room, Kurose finally returned from his brief escape, nervously calling out to his upperclassman. Mio immediately went right back to teasing him, prompting Kurose to dramatically whine and demand to know why she kept messing with him. Flashing a totally nonchalant look, Mio casually brushed off his complaints, claiming she was simply bored. Suddenly shifting her tone to something much more serious, Mio calmly asked him if he was actually having a good time hanging out with the light music club. Caught slightly off guard by the genuine question, Kurose earnestly confirmed that it was definitely a lot of fun. Flashing an incredibly warm and gentle smile, Mio softly told him that she was genuinely glad to hear that, leaving Kurose completely mesmerized and absolutely speechless by her incredibly sweet reaction. Sensing a sudden distance, Kurose nervously asks Mio if she is mad at him, but she flatly denies having any reason to be angry with him in the first place. Mio softly opens up about her true feelings, admitting that while she is genuinely happy he has found a new place to belong in the music club, she cannot help but feel a little lonely now that she sees him less often. Reassuring him with a warm smile, Mio sincerely tells Kurose that even if they spend less time together, seeing him enjoy his school life is what truly makes her happiest, leaving him completely stunned by her kindness. Kurose is left absolutely speechless and deeply touched, slowly processing her sweet confession and realizing that Mio actually missed him just as much as he missed her. Desperately wanting to clear any misunderstanding, Kurose quickly explains that making new friends and practicing with the band will never mean he does not value the precious time they spend together. Stepping up with sudden confidence, Kurose boldly suggests they find other ways to make time for each other, proposing they start eating lunch together or walking home after school more often. Completely red-faced and blushing, Kurose takes the plunge and passionately confesses that he gets incredibly lonely whenever he cannot see her, putting his own vulnerable feelings completely on the line. Absolutely overjoyed and touched by his honest words, Mio beams with a radiant, happy smile and softly thanks him, admitting that hearing him say that makes her incredibly happy. Immediately short-circuiting from sheer embarrassment, Kurose frantically flees to the restroom to escape his own blushing face, leaving a laughing Mio behind, as he desperately regrets saying something so incredibly mushy. Having witnessed the entire heart-fluttering interaction unfold right from her desk, the school nurse is left completely overwhelmed by their sweetness, squealing in pure bliss over how unbelievably cute the two of them are. Watching from the sidelines, the glasses-wearing teacher completely lost her composure, dramatically squealing about how incredibly pure the two of them were, and frantically wondering when exactly they had gotten so intimately close. She excitedly grabbed her coworker and gushed over Mio, happily pointing out that Kurose was actually surprisingly cool whenever he managed to be that bluntly honest. Completely overwhelmed by his straightforward sincerity, Mio blushed furiously and shyly looked away, utterly unable to hide just how heavily flustered she was by the whole situation. Moved to absolute tears by the sickeningly wholesome display, the teacher dramatically clasped her hands in prayer and declared the young couple to be her guiding light, earning a bewildered stare from her completely baffled coworker.